Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this. This is the Dads and Always on Wrestling here on the Jeff Meacham Network, as well as the Constantine Studios. I am currently trying to get logged in on the computer we have here at the house, which is not letting me at the moment because I'm not on my computer. So bear with me here. We're live, folks, as we do here on the network and the channel and the costs and all that. So I apologize, but yeah. So that's what's happening. I don't have a mic, so it doesn't matter. Oh, it does. Look at that. Hi. Okay, well, we don't want that. I didn't want that at all. Can I? Oh, okay. That's fine. It really doesn't matter. I need to not have me be. Am I on both? I am on both. Okay. Let's do this. No, we don't want to do that. I know I'm echoing. Don't mind me. There we go. Okay. All right. We're going to try this now because it is what it is. I'm going to try to share the screen and Chrome tab, which is always an adventure. Share tab audio. Okay. Now it should still be. Okay. That's what I wanted. Thank you. I want my videos. Thank you. Can we do that? That'd be super. Thanks. Again, folks, we're live, and I do apologize. This is supposed to be up at 1 o'clock. Of course, YouTube and StreamYard decided to be shitheads and not sync up with me properly because that's just how it rolls around here. I know JJ is watching in the chat room, so I appreciate JJ being here very, very much. Just one of those things. All right, let's see if we can get this a-going. Maybe. Nope, I don't want that either. God darn it. Son of a bitch. Just hang on, folks. Let's see if that'll work. If it works, you'll know it because you'll hear the thing here in a hurry. Also not what I wanted to do. Why are we doing that? Can we just possibly maybe get that there? Thank you. It's so freaking difficult. I didn't think so. Let's see here. There it goes. All right. Whoop. I've seen that.
What is going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Jeff Meacham Network proudly brings to you the dads, not always, on wrestling. And the fact that I am talking first tells you that this is not a wrestling topic. And if you haven't figured that kind of rhythm out in the almost 2 years we've been back, good night, everybody. We'll see you on Talk Wrestling or Ask Jeff Meacham or The Greg Cherry Show or any of the other Stat Boy Sports Bar, any of the other content that gets presented here on the network. Today, it's a few days removed from Valentine's Day. And it's either a person's favorite day of the year or most lamented day of the year. If you've got that special someone with you and in your life, then you tend to enjoy Valentine's Day. Although, in my personal opinion, Valentine's Day is just another one of those Hallmark holidays.
Exactly.
Because much like Father's Day, much like Mother's Day, you don't need one special day to show your significant other how much you love them. You should be doing that all year.
Very true.
So Valentine's Day is just one of those Hallmark holidays. But because it is the 14th of February every year, and we are bringing this to you on the 18th, we are going to dive in, much like we did last year, into a Valentine's-esque related topic. Last year, we talked about our favorite love songs with very special guests. This year, we do not have a special guest, but we're going to talk about our top 10 chick flicks. Now, when we first went into this, we were thinking, just talk about romantic comedies, but I feel like that was too narrow because there's some great chick flicks that are more what you would call a rom-dram, a romantic drama. There's even a few chick flicks out there that are action. Miss Congeniality comes to mind.
Oh, yes.
Miss Congeniality is a little bit more on the action-based side of things than it would be on the comedy or the drama side. I mean, it is a comedy as well,
of course.
But, there's that type of stuff. And then there's chick flicks that you may not even realize are chick flicks. There's chick flicks that are made more towards guys than typical females. Stuff like Knocked Up.
Yes.
With Seth Rogen.
Oh my God.
Total chick flick. Yeah. But it's one of those stoner comedies that's more geared towards the male demographic. Like, at least if you take your lady to this, you're going to enjoy it too.
Right. Exactly.
So hence the reason we broadened things a little bit to just the chick flick terminology.
Yes.
They could be rom-coms, rom-drams, rom-action, more guy-centered. But at their core, they are those love stories that the Lifetime Network and Hallmark Movie Channel and channels like Oxygen, they make that their bread and butter, baby.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And despite what you believe, Rob Zombie's Halloween Saga is a family story, damn it. It's all about family connections. So
did we have to invoke the worst part of that saga? And I will stand on that pedestal. I would rather watch Busta Rhymes try and do kung fu than Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 or 2. Like, put that shit on loop for me, dude.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
Because at least that I can laugh at.
Yeah, but the problem with that movie on this particular episode is that's the worst one for this episode because he actually pulls it off. He actually kills Lori. It's like, so the whole family part of it's just gone at that point. So there you go.
And that's why the series should have died right there. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Halloween.
5 minutes.
We're not October to do that. When you finally, after 25 years of attempting, present that Halloween panel.
Right. It hasn't been 25. I've only been watching for
It seems like every year you've had to cancel it for some reason. But
I
again,
only had it set for 1 year, smart ass.
digress.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, since we're going to go ahead and shit on people, that's fine. Thank you, by the way, for the great intro. It's completely bullshit on my end, but that's okay, because most of mine are romantic comedies or stuff that I would go see whether I had a chick or not. So, but I do appreciate the well presented introduction, because it just completely falls by the wayside with my list. But that's okay.
It doesn't necessarily with mine, but trying to explain to the audience why we broadened.
Yes. I just don't have the broadened part of mine, just because I picked. And again, when we were first doing this, we were talking about romantic comedies, and mine definitely veers in that direction without question. But there are a couple here that I don't know necessarily I would actually go sit necessarily in a theater and go watch when they come out if I didn't have a significant other, or if I didn't, like the people involved in the movie. Which for these 10, I love the people in the movie, and I more likely would see it if there's maybe. I can see two right now that first came out, not chance of, but nowadays I would believe it, because I think awesome. So,
and we put it to you this way: you're talking about going to theaters to see them. I can only think of 2, maybe 3 on my list that I actually saw in theaters when they came out.
Well, and
the rest of them I saw down the road, whether it was my own choosing,
right,
on VHS, DVD, or with a significant other at the time on VHS or DVD.
And see, this is a unique thing we're doing this year, because last year, if I recall right, neither of us were attached as far as romantically. So this year is a little different, because you're going into this with the thought of, you have somebody put your arm around that movie theater as the water goes everywhere as we're having this. Okay. So you have somebody put your arm around, whereas I'm just enjoying the movies for what they are. And if there happens to be somebody here, cool, great. So it's
and with that, she's actually told me that 2 of the movies that are on my list, she despises.
Interesting. Okay, well now I'm curious.
She is not your typical chick flick movie type of chick.
No, she's not. So,
and when we discussed, those type of movies in the past,
right,
she told me that there were 2 that she absolutely hates.
Well, there you go.
Or virtually refuses to watch.
Wow,
and both of them are on my list because I love them that much.
That's pretty decisive stance there. Refusing to, not only just doesn't like it, refuses to watch them. That's like me. Full disclosure, when we're recording this, the week before we recorded this, I was doing my one of my little Star Trek binges. I will not watch Final Frontier. I can't stand that damn movie. I don't say goddamn because God's actually in the movie, so it's kind of weird to say like that. But yeah, it's a horrible movie. But
I told her, that she's lucky that one of those 2 I already reviewed last year when I did Chick Flicks.
Well, there you go. There's your
one of them still needs to be reviewed.
Oh, jeez.
So, and I told her, I was like, and if you want to watch it with me when I have to watch it to review it, you're more than welcome. If you don't, I'm not going to force you.
No.
That's not my style, to force somebody to watch something.
No, which is why, our kids at different paces watch the horror movies with you at different times. My son watched it when he was itty bitty. Yours just watched them.
She got about halfway through them before I had to send her back home. So, got the other half that I was going to send the watch with her to watch when I get to see her next.
There you
Something
go.
to look forward to. But we're getting off in the weeds as we usually do. Jeff, since it's non-wrestling, take us away. Lights, camera, action. If you haven't already, make sure you have your tasty beverage, your popcorn, your jujubes, whatever kind of snacks you like when we discuss movies.
Yes.
And start letting us know what your 10 chick flicks are, Jeff.
So number 10 is really going to come off as one of those where, and again, when I first saw it, I don't think I actually saw it in theaters. I think I would have been too young. I think it was an R rating when it came out. And I wouldn't ask my parents to take me to an R movie unless it was, something Star Trek or whatever, which never happened. But I like the story of this movie. I like the characters involved, especially the main character, because sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? I sympathize with him more than I ever have in my life. Back when this movie came out, probably not. But now that it's been out a while and I've developed my own adult personality, yeah, he's the main character in this. Is just I get it. I understand why he is the way he is, but it's still very much a chick flick. There's still romance in here. There's still a love story intertwined within there. And if you're going to talk about chick flicks in LA, there's nobody that got more chicks in flicks probably than Jack Nicholson. As good as it gets. I mean, you've heard stories about Jack's prowess here in LA. It's not far off from what I've understood. So it's Jack, much like Rob Williams talking about Jackson every drug, Jackson everybody, I think, in this city at this point. So it's one of those where he's a great leading man, whether he's in his early 20s or here. He's elderly, not elderly, but getting on in years. But he's so much a germaphobe. He's so anal compulsive. He's so just completely out there. But I get it. I understand it now. Much more I understand 1997 for sure. But
especially in the world we live in with COVID and everything.
Right? Yeah. I would love to have seen how they pulled this movie off. Now it'd probably take about 10 minutes because everybody's COVID. The end. That's it. There's no connection. There's no anything. It's just done in 10 minutes. But I loved how they developed the story of this woman just whether it almost felt like by force she burrowed her way into Jack's head and his heart, which I thought was so great. And it ended up working out in the end because it's a romantic comedy. It's a chick flick. It worked out in the end. Everything was rosy, but it was still, you didn't know for a lot of it. A lot of it was, you thought for sure that it was going to be, the end of it. And that was, he was going to not, everything was not going to fall in line, and it did anyway. And I don't know if you reviewed this, so I apologize. But if you haven't, I would definitely check it out when you do. If you have, I'll go back and look in the archives later. Great stuff.
I have not looked at it yet. In fact, I don't think I've even ever seen that one before.
Really? Wow.
Because when it came around, it wasn't something I was really into.
Right.
Jack, I can take or leave.
Really? Okay. All right.
I mean, if it's not the Joker,
okay,
I can really kind of take or leave Jack Nicholson.
Well, you're gonna be bored again here in a few more spots, but we'll go ahead and get there when we get there.
Hey,
the next one I know you like, because I'm pretty sure the first time I saw the whole way through was with you. It is very much it's so 80s. It's set in the 80s, and the female romantic lead was a product of the 80s and how awesome the 80s were for movies. Drew Barrymore opposite Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer. Now, I have said on this show more than once that Adam Sandler's movies are in the stupid funny I don't watch category. This is an exception.
Yep.
Much like Happy Gilmore and to a lesser extent Waterboy. Those three movies I will watch. Oh, actually, these two. Waterboy, I really need to be in the mood for that one. But this one, Happy Gilmore, I will sit down and watch all day, every day, twice on Sunday. These are that good. This one's so damn cute. It's very much chick flicky. It makes you want to vomit. It's so cute. The whole thing. It's very 80s, like I said. I mean, freaking Adam's hair, I think, is still in the 80s at this point. Goodness gracious. But look at Drew. She's just so bubbly and just so cute. And, unfortunately, that hairstyle makes you think of Casey and Scream. I go, oh, shit, wait a minute. What's going to happen here? But it's just a great story. The dude's literally jilted so bad, he becomes a wedding singer pretty much by default. And that's the thread, the whole movie. He's a wedding singer because his romantic life sucks balls. That's really what it comes down to. But it's so cute because he gets through. How great are these two together? I mean, 51st Date, you've got this one. They work so well together because for two reasons. One, they're both funnier in hell. A few reasons. They're funnier in hell. They both have zero problem with self-deprivation. They will make fun of their own damn selves any day, to the point of almost like, are you okay? You good? But they're both fans of stuff like that as well. They're both fans of the stupid funny. They're both fans of, get the joke like that because they grew up in that era, both of them. You figure Drew and Adam were both young in the early 80s. Drew, of course, we saw grow up on screen.
Yes.
But, you know, it's just one of those where they're both a product of that era of movie where everything pretty much clicked. No pun intended for Adam's movie there, by the way. But everything just worked in comedies and even romantic comedies when they were kids. So and they were coming up in the business, so they totally understand it, and it works. This movie just hits every point. It's so well done. I love this movie. Love it, love it.
Agreed. And you know, you didn't mention this one, but I throw Pixels in there as well with the Adam Sandler movies that I can just watch over and over again, because very much like The Wedding Singer, even though it is set in modern times, it is a product of the 80s movie, with all the 80s video game characters that come back to terrorize them because these aliens think that this videotape that was sent up in space of this tournament was a challenge of war.
Right? Yeah, it's
so then you get, you know, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Paperboy, etc., Space Invaders.
Yes.
All coming down to attack.
Yeah. And Pixels gets honorary mention, not necessarily for a romantic comedy or chick flick, but because there's so many different elements in that movie. Pun completely not intended there either, but it just hits it hits sci-fi, it hits fantasy, it hits funny, it hits drama, it hits sad. Everything's right there in that movie. So
it hits chick flick too, because there is that love story that develops between Sandler's character and the boy's mom.
True, very true. So Pixels works. It's just it didn't fall into my brain in this one, but this next one did, and people are going to be a little surprised because number 8. Yes, thank you for reminding me what number it was. I've only seen this twice, but people that know me know how much of a history buff I am, know how much a fan I have of this particular part of government and history. And I just love that they chose to tell this story as they told it. Would it work today? I don't know, because of how much social media has changed our world. And this is a pre-social media movie. Let me preface it by saying that. There is no MySpace, there is no Facebook, there's no anything like that when this movie came out. So would it work today? I don't know if people would let it work today, but I love it. It's Michael Douglas and Annette Bening in The American President. Again, I've not seen a hell of a whole lot of either of their movies. Let me go ahead and be frank about that, because never really got into Michael. And I was never a Wall Street guy, just never really got into his area of movies. Annette Bening, I can't, and again, this is going to sound really bad, because I know she's amazing. I can't think of another movie of hers right now off the top of my head that just comes to my forefront. I know she was supposed to be in Batman Returns, but she got pregnant. I know she was supposed to be, no, I'm sorry, that was somebody else. She was supposed to be in Dick Tracy, and she got pregnant, which is why they had somebody else play her role. I think that's what it was. Anyway, these two, it just works. He's a somewhat newly single president, which I think's happened maybe once in the entire history of the United States presidency. No divorcees, widows, I'm sure, over the years, but no divorcees, and no anything that I can really recall. And then you have Annette's character, who is just she kind of, I want to say falls into his lap. That sounds really bad with the president involved, but it just kind of shows up in his life and completely takes his brain and his heart on a whirlwind journey that neither of them expect. And unfortunately, even back in whatever year this came out, 1990 something, the eyes of the world are on both of them, because it's the damn president of the United States. Yeah. You're gonna be, caught up in it. It's just. And the thing with the presidency, and I've said this over and over again, there are presidents. Mm-hmm. Whoever's in there, even 45, they're still representing us to the rest of the world. And if the rest of the world sees the president as somebody who's openly dating and not focusing enough on the task at hand compared to the woman, that looks bad, and that could conceivably come off as weakness to a foreign power or whatever. So it's a very, very multi-layered story that could have gone a million different ways. And
Oh yeah.
again, I love it. It works very well.
Yeah. Definitely the type of thing that can't be done this day and age because social media would be all over it.
No. No.
The
I
first
mean,
movie that pops to my mind when I think of Annette Bening, and no, I didn't just cheat, but I was looking up other stuff for her to try to throw out, and she's been in more than I remember seeing her in as well. But
right.
the first movie that always comes to my mind for her is Bugsy,
Which
which
is
she
also a
did
good
with
choice.
Warren
Right.
Beatty.
Warren Beatty. Sorry. He is Warren Beatty. Sorry. Brain fart.
But
Yeah.
that was the first time she was brought to my attention. Like I wanted to say that was around the time they fell in love
That sounds about right.
and began their relationship.
See,
But
I've never seen Bugsy, so
being a guy who loves Vegas and especially old Vegas, when
oh yeah.
the mob controlled Vegas,
Oh yeah.
and seeing the story of Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, who owned the Flamingo Casino.
Oh, trust me, I know who Bugsy is. I just never seen
So
the movie.
I'm just saying, that right there appealed to me. But
Yeah.
that was the first time she was brought to my attention. But both of them, Douglas and Benning, are involved in the MCU.
Yes, this is true. So
it would be cool to down the road see if they end up intertwining again.
Be interesting to see how that played out because they're not too far off, really. So we'll see. But I love it. It's again, like you said, I can't actively. I mean, I'm trying to think of the year this came out, so forgive me if I don't. But you figure, early to mid '90s, I think, if I remember right. So even then, toward
95.
the end of 95. So figure Clinton's halfway through his 2 terms. No, I'm sorry. He's almost at the end of
starting
his
second term.
Yeah. He's getting ready to start his second term. So even then, Clinton wasn't enough trouble as it was for his social shenanigans, shall we say, as you see the strip on
without social media.
Yeah, without MySpace or Facebook or Twitter, any of that, I can't even process the amount of trouble any president would get in for any damn thing, especially something like this, where you're openly dating in front of the world. I mean, God, think of social media. Think all improprieties they laid on Trump. Think of all the shit that got laid on Obama that whatever, and poor W, man, even in the early points of the internet age, W was shit on for the entire time he was president. So I can't even process a president not only divorcing in office, but openly dating. Oh my God, ripped to shreds. Just would be fugly.
And forget about the president for the second, as bad as that sounds to say.
Right.
What about the poor girl that he's trying to date? Being
under
the microscope.
Yeah.
The president is still going to be the president, is still going to be the president.
Right.
But if every couple of nights he's dating a different girl, what's that poor girl going to go through, even if she only gets one date with him? Yeah. Oh, here's another one that wasn't good enough for the president.
Yeah. It's either here's the woman that's replacing our first lady, which is scary, or here's another one in the line. And the thing is, again, it's the worst kept secret about JFK's shenanigans, right? But
which Jackie just makes the poor women look like hoes,
right? And when JFK was president, whenever he was doing, Jackie Kennedy still rose above. It's like, no, I'm still the first lady, and they were still married. That's the difference. They divorce. Yeah, she was first lady when they started, but now it's like she's just another woman that happened to carry his last name when he was president, which is it's such a multi-layered. Here it is, clusterfuck. It wouldn't work. Yeah. It wouldn't work today. There's just no way.
No.
So good on them for what they did.
100%.
Without question. So it's one of those where it's good they did it when they did it, because it was damn good when they did.
Yeah.
This one you did talk about. I know you did, because at least once, maybe twice, because I know you did it during your one of your Tom Hanks months. You may have done it, during another run of maybe fantasy or something, but I don't know. So, but I did see you review it, and it is a great movie that you get so on. You don't expect it to be so good, but it's great. Mr. Hanks and Miss Splash. It's not okay how much this is. It's not okay how much like this movie, because I just, again, I just started really like watching it when I was dating Dylan's mom. And I believe she loved it because she's into, dolphins and marine life and whatever. So she kind of not rooked me into it, because I won't ever give her that much credit as far as that goes. But I did enjoy it. I still do enjoy it. I mean, Daryl's one of those where I have to be in the mood to watch Daryl Hannah movie unless it's this one. This one I will watch anytime. It's so great. It's very simply made. It's boy meets girl. Turns out the girl's a fish. It's really just that much of a twist. It's but it works. It 100% works. And it came out when I was a baby, so I didn't get to see it, of course, when it came out. But God, Hanks and Hannah and John Candy's in this, Eugene Levy's in this. So people that you and I, and it's a Ron Howard movie, which is always good, more often than not, I should say. Ron Howard being the director always works. When you get Ron Howard and Tom Hanks, who again, product of their time, you figure Ron Howard was our little 50s, 60s boy who, actually was on the 70s and 80s, but he's a product of that time. He was Opie back in the day. Wow, okay. And then you've got Tom Hanks, who, is a product of that era of television. So, and he went on to become, we've said it 100 times, one of the, if not the definitive movie star of our generation. So, I mean, you got The Rock now, who's just doing ridiculous things, and Dwayne.
But Dwayne is for the new generation.
Right,
Tom
exactly.
is from our generation.
Right, exactly.
Tom was the 80s boy next door movie star.
And this is literally, I said, boy next door meets girl. It just happens to be the girl doesn't live quite next door. She lives a little further out in the water.
It's funny because the other day I was watching a movie with Hayden and Natalie, I believe, as well. And it didn't dawn on me until you just brought this movie up. But the movie I was watching was very similar to this. Luca, one of the more recent Pixar movies, because they are sea monsters who can transform themselves into human form.
Yep.
So instead of a girl meet boy, and the girl is the dolphin, the mermaid, it's the boy that's the sea monster who meets the girl.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, again, fantasy love stories just seem to resonate on a different level than a lot of other things.
I'll get to Luca at some point when I do a month of Pixar movies.
Yep.
Honestly, I expected more from it.
Right.
It didn't hit the way I thought it would hit.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. But just you talking about Splash made me realize, holy crap, this movie is basically a cartoon version of Splash in reverse.
Well, again, I appreciate the transition, because this next one is kind of the opposite. It's one of those classic Disney animated princess stories that went the other way, because it doesn't take place in Cinderella's castle. It doesn't take place in Sherwood Forest. It doesn't take place in the dwarf's cottage. It takes place in Andalasia and New York City, baby. That's right. I know I'm gonna get shit for this, but one particular person, and that's okay. Enchanted. It's the movie I discovered Amy Adams in. It's the only thing I will religiously watch Patrick Dempsey in. And I'm sorry for you Grays fans, that's gonna give me shit from another person now. I'm just racking it up at this point. And it's again Susan Sarandon. How can I not watch Susan Sarandon as the bad guy? It's so great. I just love everything about this movie. And again, it's supposed to be a parody. That's the gimmick, folks. It's supposed to be, oh God, they're lampooning everything. That's the idea. But it's still brings you in and captures your imagination, and you are sitting there watching Giselle chase Robert and the hell is Susan's character's queen's name?
I forget.
I do too. But chasing the dragon.
I've seen it.
Yeah, chasing the dragon who's carrying her love out on the top under that building. You get caught up in it. You get your eyes, twinkle with tears, and they sparkle with joy when it's over. It's a beautiful Disney movie. And again, full disclosure, that was one of the few movies I couldn't bring my girl to see. My girl at the time hates this friggin' movie with a bloody passion. So I didn't have the opportunity, but you know what?
And as a result, as far as I know, she still hates Amy Adams.
As far as I know,
of
she
this
still
movie.
does. Yeah, as far as to the point where, and again, I think we rented or Redbox or whatever the terminology was back then, because it's 16 years, keep that in mind. Julie and Julia. Her not knowing that Julie was Amy Adams. We watched about 20 seconds. She opened the DVD player, put it back in the case, and took it back out to the mailbox and went. That was it. I'm like, wow. And again, I don't know if that's changed because Amy Adams done a lot of shit since 2007, DCU folks. But I don't know. But I think if they're making an Enchanted 2, which I can't wait to see, frankly. And again, I am. It's one of those where I saw it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it when it came out on streaming back then, which I think would probably been Netflix at the time.
Probably.
And I definitely bought a copy without question. Yeah. So,
and must we not forget to mention,
yes,
that it was the movie that brought Idina Menzel to the mainstream knowledge.
Yeah, outside of Rent World, which again, the fact that she despises this movie and somebody from Rent is in it, but again, Idina doesn't sing, to be fair. So,
which, you know, that was always the biggest blunder that got talked about with this movie.
For sure.
How do you have Idina Menzel in your musical comedy Disney movie and you don't let her sing?
She's legit
I
the only
still
lead.
say that is why she got the songs Let It Go and Into the Unknown, which are now iconic. Let me say that one more time for you. Iconic. Because it was Disney's way of saying our bad.
Yeah. Because think about it. She's legitimately the only lead of the four that has no part in any song whatsoever. Even Patrick Dempsey, he doesn't really sing, and that's how you know, but he's still involved in the process. You know, again, I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry. He's played Cyclops. He's put in a bunch of stuff. I forget his name, and it's not happening right now in my moments. I apologize.
Jason
But
Marsden.
Jason Marsden. He even sings in this friggin' movie. So, how Idina doesn't just, again, both of mine.
Which he was one of the main selling points of me for this movie, because as we said, we didn't know who Amy Adams was.
No, but we didn't. Jason.
This was the movie that really brought her to the forefront. But I sure as hell knew who Cyclops was.
Oh yeah, and again, even back then, Patrick Dempsey was still Patrick friggin' Dempsey. So it's if you're into Patrick Dempsey, you're gonna go see this movie. And yeah, Idina's in it, and Susan Sarandon's the villain. Narissa, there it is. Just literally hit me in the mind right there. Just hit me in the and Timothy Spall, who's also a great little villain, but doesn't really want to be. He's just loving Narissa because he's a sad little boy type stuff. This movie just works. And again, I'm waxing proxy for 20 minutes on one movie, which is not good.
It happens.
It's okay. All right.
That just shows how passionate you are about your pick, Meacham.
That's right, damn it. So I think I'm more passionate about the fact that she detests it. So it just works me up. Okay. So where are we at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halfway. Okay, we're officially halfway now. So number 5, I mentioned earlier, we're going to bring him up again. So he's back. Jack is back. Another lady who is one of those, she can act in any decade she wants, as long as she's still got it. And she definitely's got it here. She's got it so much. They're both. Something's got, I didn't mess up the picture. That's okay. Something's got to give. I mean, you've got these two. You've got Keanu. So there it is. I actually have seen a Keanu Reeves movie the whole way through. I take back my earlier statement about not seeing a Keanu movie. I have seen it before. Frances McDermott's in this, who is hysterical. Amanda Peet, Amanda goes whole 9 yards the first time I saw her, and I'm okay with it. If you're a fan of Brockmire more recently, you love Amanda Peet because she's funnier than Brockmire. But she's in a lot of great things too. This is one of those, yes, Jack and Diane are the leads.
Little Diddy?
If you know, it's Little Diddy. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you're too damn young. I'm sorry, get the fuck out of here. That's it. Seriously.
That's 2 now.
What's that?
That's 2 now.
Oh hell, I forgot. Okay, sorry. This
That just
it
means
is,
I have to try to be extra squeaky clean when I do my part.
I can always edit mine out. It's okay. This is a little movie about a Jack and Diane characters, but the ensemble definitely makes it work. You've got Keanu Reeves in his part. You've got Frances McDormand, who is just the great best friend role to Diane Keaton's part. And you got Amanda Peet, who's technically dating Jack as we start this shenanigans. And yeah, it ends up going completely sideways, as romantic comedies do, as love stories do. You know, and Jack facing his own mortality, which I know Jack has dealt with his own stuff in real life, as far as, dating people that maybe aren't in his age bracket, maybe haven't been in his age bracket since 1965. And I love you, Jack, but just saying. And literally having to have his heart started more than once because of stuff like that. It's getting old sucks. And I'm,
You almost got to wonder sometimes if his pickup line is, "You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" I always ask that of all my prey.
I only ask that because I didn't make sure you know how to dance. If you need to freaking jumpstart my body if I fall over again, But that's really good, by the way. Getting old sucks, and JJ and I are both, into that era, into that age bracket where it's like, you start thinking about stuff like this. It's like, you worry about if your body's going to hold up when you're involved with people younger than you, or if you're, more active than you were back then. Shit happens, man. And it definitely happens to Jack in this movie. So, but it works out wonderfully, as they do on this list, as they do in these movies. Yeah. It's a beautiful little story. And I can't recommend this one enough. It's one of my favorite movies ever. Again, I forgot Keanu was not the main lead, but he's definitely a major factor on this. So I have seen at least one Keanu Reeves movie, which is nice. And just the smile, Jack's got that Jack smile. I mean, where is it? There it is. Jack always has this smile, like that sly, like he's on the prowl, like he's getting ready to ask somebody if they're dancing Devil Pale Moonlight. He's like ready, and then Diane's looking back at him like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready." It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So it's great.
That's stuff. Part of what made him as the Joker so great, is that he has that natural grin. Whereas a lot of people need makeup or prosthetics to help get that smile going.
Yes,
Jack's smile is natural.
Yeah,
and devilish.
Yeah. The Joker's Glasgow smile is not far off from Jack Nicholson's. Exactly, the grin, just like that grin. It's like you think he's probably gonna do something notoriously evil, but you might be okay with it if he does. So it's okay. This one here, fully blamed for my ex. 100% I blame her for this being on my list, but it's cute as hell. And it stars, technically speaking, if you really want to break it down a little bit, two people who went on to be major factors, good or bad, in the Marvel, not cinematic, but Marvel universe as a whole.
Okay.
The lead went on to play Elektra. God help us. The male lead is our Bruce Banner. 13 going on 30. Thank you very much for the lead. I'm very glad the MCU is just like you get a good lead in there. And again, I saw it a couple times with Dylan's mom. I definitely saw it with y'all. So I know I've seen it a few times since I saw it the first time, but this is one of those where we are all, every single one of us, guilty at 13, 14, 15 years old, wishing we were 28, 29, 30 years old, getting out of this teenage angst and done being not being a grown-up yet, and just want to grow up. And then you grow up and you go, this bullshit, I want to go back. That's how we are now. It's like, damn, I wish I could get up and the first thing I think about is what my snack's going to be at 10 o'clock. Like, that'd be great. Like, I don't have to worry about shit till 10 o'clock. Because that's when I get my brunch, damn it, or I get my recess time. And it ain't like that when you're 30 years old, y'all. It's just not. Nope. It ain't like that when you're 25. Let's be honest.
At 30 years old, you're lucky if you had breakfast at 10 o'clock.
Right.
It's not, you're stuck until lunchtime.
Yeah. You're lucky if your breakfast, is well, at 10 o'clock or later. You're more than likely grabbing, something as you walk out the door, or you're hitting a drive-through on your way to work to get a Starbucks coffee and maybe a Danish, maybe if you're lucky. But definitely got to get a coffee, because otherwise you're not going to be a functional effort with the hell. But you got, breakfast at 10 o'clock, man, or even brunch at 10 o'clock, hey, good on you. Doesn't happen at 30. And this is one of those where don't be so quick to grow up. Don't be so quick to grow up, Dylan. Don't be so quick to grow up, Natalie. Slow it down. Especially right now, the both of them together. Oh my God, Dylan is almost going to be 14. Yours just turned 13. So it's just like we live this movie right now. We're here right now. We're in it. We're in it. They both want to do so many different adult things and be all like, no, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes.
You live with Josh Baskin, and I live with Jennifer Garner in this.
Exactly.
And if you know, you know.
If you don't know, I'm sorry, but you should.
If you don't know, go back to Tom Hanks month last year and watch Big.
Yeah. Big and 13 going on 30 are very much that movie for their respective times of movie history, without a doubt. And they both work so well. I mean, you figure Big is what made Tom Hanks. That's really where he went off to the next level, I think.
Yes and no.
Okay. Anyway,
I would say Splash is what made Tom Hanks Tom Hanks. Big is what catapulted him to the next stratosphere, where he became a league of their own, Forrest Gump Tom Hanks.
Right. That's fair.
But if Splash hadn't been a success, we wouldn't be talking about Tom Hanks 40 years down the road.
Very true. Very true. So. Which is, again, why it's on my list also. But yeah, 13 going on 30 is just cute as a button. And that's really all there is to it.
It is my favorite Jennifer Garner movie.
Yes. And yes, I did mention Marvel. I did mention the god-awful Electra that was. But you know what? Again, it's a part of history. Yeah. It's like Batman and Robin. It's there. It doesn't mean we have to acknowledge all the time or watch it when it comes on the TV. It's just there.
Yeah.
And
I don't mind her as Electra in Daredevil, which is its own bundle of crap.
Right.
But her as the lead in Electra, her own movie, no.
Yeah, if Daredevil is a plate of crap, then Electra is an entire case of crap. So again,
Electra is 10 pounds of monkey crab shoved in a 5-pound bag.
And if you know that, you're on the right channel. Welcome to Dad's Always Wrestling. Very good. That's good. Did you smell we're cooking? Anyway, all right. Top 3. Here we go. So number 3 is one of those. It's not necessarily just a chick flick. It doesn't really fall into that particular category by itself. It's very much stupid funny in the vein of, Adam Sandler type stuff, but it's very much more raunchy than the Adam Sandler stupid funnies. Like, I mean, her hair alone in this, there you go. The hairstyle alone. If you know why her hair's like that, you know why this movie got an R rating. Lucky it didn't get a freaking XXX at the time or an NC-17. Goodness gracious. There's something about Mary, and we talked about Ms. Diaz here a few weeks ago on the Jim Carrey show. The Jim Carrey show, like an actual thing. The Jim Carrey movies episode of Dad's that we did. That's right. Damn it, it should be. That The Mask brought her to our collective consciousness. Mm-hmm. It was this movie that made her money. Mm-hmm. Like this put her in another financial bracket altogether.
This is very much the same that I just mentioned with Tom Hanks.
Yep.
The Mask established her. Yes. This took her to the next level.
So, again, after this movie, again, I'm asking more than just JJ here, but JJ's here, so I'll ask him. Name me a major, let's say, Matt Dillon vehicle that's Matt-centric after this. I'll wait. Other than the Fockers series that I can think of off the top of my head, another Ben Stiller movie series or even a movie just that went off into the stratosphere. Again, it's very hard to come by.
Museum.
Okay,
but a lot of Night at the Museum is owned to his cast, his supporting cast. I mean, because prior to that, you had Mystery Men, which I enjoy.
Yes,
but it didn't hit
no.
like this did. But Night at the Museum, you've got Robin Williams, Owen Wilson, Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rooney, Amy Adams in the second one. Rami Malek was brought to our attention because he plays the Egyptian character. Granted, he had a bigger role in the third, but he was kind of brought on our radar in those.
Right.
Hugh Jackman has a cameo in one of the Night of the Museums,
Right.
where he even references X-Men.
Yes.
So you gotta factor that in. A lot of Ben Stiller's best work, he's got that amazing cast behind him, even the Fockers.
Right.
The Parents Fockers series.
I mean, De Niro,
Which,
Hoffman,
I
all
haven't
that,
seen them, but yeah, you just said De Niro, Streisand.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
That whole, both of those are, yes, they're Ben Stiller vehicles by design, but that supporting cast just.
And Mystery Men could have been that way, but we weren't ready for superheroes yet.
No, and
We
again,
were
this is
off
not
the heels
me.
of Batman and Robin. We had Steel.
Yeah.
We weren't really ready for superheroes yet, and especially superheroes that we didn't really know.
No, and again, this isn't a knock on Paul, but I don't know if people were really ready to fully embrace Paul Rubens yet, because that movie did way less box office than I thought it would. I mean that cast should have knocked that box office out of the friggin' park.
Stiller, Janine Garofalo, William H. Macy, Paul Rubens, Kel Mitchell in his first major vehicle without Kenan Thompson.
Yep. That
movie, Kenan had the Ducks movies as major vehicles without Kel.
Right.
But Kel hadn't really had a major vehicle without Kenan.
No.
And it failed.
Yeah, I was going to say, that movie should have kicked ass for every reason except the fact that it didn't. I mean, that's just really what it came down to. But anyway, we digress. Yeah. This movie launched Cameron into the. I mean, she got Charlie's Angels after this. She got all the things she got after this because of this. Like you said, during when the graphics up, the mask is what put her on the map. And oh, she's pretty, she's funny. Who's this? This one's like, oh, that's who this is. Got it. So. Whereas, the two other leads, Stiller and Dillon, I can't think of anything Matt Dillon did after this. I like Matt. I did then. But again,
he did a few things, but nothing that was really major I can think of.
Right. So, and again, like movies we've had, before today anyway, you got the one major person who's the central figure, except for Enchanted, because everybody's in that damn movie. But everybody came out of it, at least for the moment, smelling like roses. Although, it really depends who you ask, I guess, because some of them very much did. It did just go box office. They can stream it for free and not worry about making any more money. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there now. So good stuff here. All right. Number 2, it seems like it comes up every time we do something that has to do with romance or comedy or fantasy or any damn thing we talk about, because it is every damn genre we talk about. It really is. And, people have been, you've been asking me, for weeks now to, what's your list going to be? What's going to be? And I told you, I will give it to you as soon as we have an opportunity, and I'll promise you'll hear it. Here it is. As you wish. There you go. There it is. Number 2. I can't say enough good things about this movie. I can't say enough good things about this cast. I can't say enough good things about the director, the production company, the cast you don't really know is there that is there. It's just, it hits on every level. And the only reason it's not number 1 on this list is because I've always had a definitive number 1 on the romantic comedy / chick flicks list. That's the only reason it's not Princess Bride, because my number 1's been there pretty much from the first time I saw that movie. But this was in a hot race with Something About Mary, right up until we went on the air here, pretty much. Okay. I just like this one better, and I think it's a romantic comedy. It's definitely one that doesn't really come off as a guy movie on the surface. Yeah, you've got fantasy. Yeah, you've got fighting monsters. Yeah, you've got a literal giant in the movie. But especially in my generation, my guys, I'm very much the Fred Savage. Like, just get to the good stuff. Now, 39 almost years old, I'm like, yeah, let's see all of it. This is all great.
At 39, almost 40 years old, 45 for me, we're still Fred Savage. You gonna come over tomorrow and read it again?
Exactly. And of course, Columbo's like, as you wish, because that's what he do. I love. I just. This is one of those, and this is so dumb. I own at least 2 copies of this on DVD, maybe whatever it is. I know I've got it on streaming, so I think it's on Disney Plus at this point. But if it's on TV and I'm walking through the house, I will sit down and I will watch this movie.
That's, to me, even more so in this day and age where everything is literally at our fingertips.
Right.
That is the definition of a great movie.
Yeah.
If you are just casually walking by and it is on the TV and you sit down and you watch it, even though you can go into your room, break out the DVD or the Blu-ray, put it in your machine and start it from the beginning. If you sit down and join it already in progress and continue watching it, that is the sign of a great movie.
Dude, I can literally go into my office here, push this button, and get it loaded in about 2 minutes. And I'll still watch the damn movie. So
all I got to do is reach right over here on my
exactly
and pull it out because I've got all my movies with wrestlers together.
Because you ready.
Andre the Giant.
Because you ready for next month, brother. You ready. I love it. All right, number 1. Again, if you know me, you know this. I'm sure Jay knows what's coming here. But this is one of those where I actually just watched the Movies That Made Us episode of this movie on Netflix. And I knew it had a darker tone before it hit the theater, but man, was I amazed at how much this movie changed between writing and filming. And it's one of those where it's not the perfect movie like Back to the Future, like we always talk about how Back to the Future is so perfect or whatever, but it damn near is. And it definitely made the female lead a star without any sort of remote possibility of a doubt, and it established the male lead as your leading man. He's one of the best ever. Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. This is a love story that, honestly, Jay, I think you'll agree with me, it only works in Los Angeles. It really does. I mean, as far as the story being set, you can watch it anywhere. But the setting, it's got to be in Hollywood, and it's got to be in that gritty late 80s Hollywood that you and I knew or knows existed back then. You and I never saw that Hollywood. It was there. We were going down that, or we didn't go down there. Are you kidding me? You know, we stayed out of there. It was too much bad up there in that neck of the woods. But you know it exists, and you know. The way it's written was different, but the way it lays out on screen, every single bit of it could 100% work, could 100% happen. You could definitely see where that might happen. Even the dark points where you think she's gonna bounce, and and she's completely feeling like she's, isolated within his world because of how the people treat her at the polo match and how Stucky treats her later, which, man, I'm not a Seinfeld fan to begin with the show, but I really want to hit Jason Alexander in his face after this movie. Like, golly. And Richard Gere did, so there you go. It just works because, and again, the male lead's coming off literally the wound is still open. The divorce is so fresh. Vivian's character, Julia Roberts' character, is who she is. She's had to make her way because of this. We only know a lot about her past until later. And then again, we get very little detail. But it's just one of those that just works. And the fact that it's a Gary Marshall production, it's like, Gary Marshall did this? This isn't funny at all. What the fudge? But it does get funny later. But again, you've got the right production company, you've got the right actress, you've got the right actor, you've got the right supporting cast in this, and you've got the story and you've got the timing, not only of the setting and when it takes place, but the timing of its release. It's in real time. it takes place in late 80s, early 90s, where you're like, yeah, Hollywood is that shitty right now. Hollywood Boulevard's a mess right now. So yeah, we get it.
I don't think I ever made a journey to Hollywood Boulevard until the early 2000s
Exactly.
because of the image that Hollywood had up until the turn of the century.
Yep. Yeah, I don't actually remember seeing or wanting to go down to Hollywood Walk of Fame inductions. Like, I ain't going down there. You crazy? Now it's like I hurt when I can't, when I see, you know, like I went with Vince got his in 2008 because that's, you know, that's our guy, it's a wrestling guy. You know, I wanted to go and they did Dewey's. But it's just back then, you didn't dare go down there unless you had strict business down there because it was just a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, it was seedy. Like everything you thought, everything the media still kind of presents about places like downtown Chicago,
Yep.
New York. That's the way Hollywood was back in the 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
You know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That's exactly it, brother. That's it.
You know, for better and for worse.
Yep.
You know, not going down there during those eras, you missed some of the great heavy metal bands that kind of got their starts in those clubs.
Yep.
But then you also had River Phoenix, dying outside the Viper Room.
In the early 80s, you had Belushi dying, you know, not too far down the street. So it was a shitty neighborhood. It was bad. And again, this encapsulated because he literally plucks her out of that seedy shithole and brings her into Beverly Hills and the country clubs and all that stuff. And it's like, and again, I'm not trying to say I know everything about every damn thing, but for a woman who very much had a narrow perception of the world at the time to be plucked into that reality, it was like Cinderella going to the freaking castle after being a freaking slave, a servant girl for so long. That's really what it comes down to, which is why the ending works so well, because not only does he rescue her, she rescues him back, damn it. That's why it works. Because his world is so completely up with the divorce and his realizing that his piracy, his plucking of these businesses and breaking them down and selling them, again, very 80s, very corporate America back then. But it's a shitty thing to do to these businesses that have been, you know, for lack of a better term, mom and pop or family designed, like the business in the story. It's two people who had shitty pasts that rescue each other, like the movie says at the very end. So great stuff, great movie, great way to end my list. For me anyway. And I will say this, as we get ready to go to commercial here, because that's what we do here. I'm looking forward to yours. I know we talked about one that I will not expect to see on your list, which I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to what we have in common versus what we don't, which we can talk about after the break. And again, if anybody agrees, disagrees, whatever with me, and you're watching right now, make sure you're leaving your comments next to Jay over there because we want to see them. If you're watching it after, you know, during SmackDown or afterwards, please comment down below. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know what your favorite chick flick / romantic comedy / whatever the hell I went into the last hour or so is.
And we especially want to hear from the guys on this because we know these movies aren't geared towards us men out there. No. So what of these movies that Jeff has talked about, that I'm about to talk about, that we forgot, do you love watching? Exactly. We'll get into my list after this.
there it is, coming up again, April 1st. Not an April Fool, but April 1st. The Renegades reviews are back. I'm looking forward to it, man. Again, that's really going to be one of those where, yes, we're going to be counting down to WrestleMania well before that because we do here on the network, but that's going to be the official. All right, we are officially WrestleMania weekend. Let's do the damn thing with the Renegades. And you've got, as the lead man would say, oh, good shit coming up, pal. So I'm looking forward to it. But
yeah, because at the end of the day, there's 2 months in a row of movies with wrestlers,
which is always good.
The month of April is just random people, you know, your Cenas, your Miz's, your Ortons, your Austins, etc.
Yes.
May is all about the great one, the most electrifying man in all of entertainment.
That's right. So, I mean, we had Jim Carrey's 60th birthday celebration in January. God, The Rock's turning 50 this year, which just
no. And considering I just turned 45, like I thought The Rock was older than me.
Yeah,
like
right?
I didn't realize he was only that much older. Like he's got 5 years on me. That dude could be like my big brother,
right? Just scary in of itself. But yeah,
we're not talking about The Rock. We're not talking about movies with wrestlers. Although you did have Andre the Giant on your list.
Well, that's because Princess Bride's so damn good. I just love it to pieces. But anyway, with that being said, we've got the Renegades reviews officially coming back on April 1st. But for now, y'all have to just deal with this little bitty slice of the pie, if you will. You get every other Friday here on the Jeff Feature Network and also on the Renegades channel. We actually get the freaking uploads to work on time for us, which but in any event, JJ, my friend, take it away.
Well, before the break, you mentioned how there was going to be one on my list that was a surprise to you. And it's not necessarily that it's a surprise. Let me just preface it on there. I just knew for a fact that one wasn't going to be on your list.
Okay.
When I get there and I tell you what it is, it's not going to surprise you in the least.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it was just one of those movies that, in the grand scheme of them, is probably the one movie nobody would think of, with the exception of maybe one other person I'll get to when I get to that list, to throw onto this list.
All right.
But I digress. Before I get into my number 10, I already told you guys that 2 of the movies on my list, my girl hates.
Right.
So I already know that in the grand scheme of things, she's going to like your list more than mine.
Okay.
I'm
just, am I gonna lie?
I'm just hoping that the other 8 at least can meet with some approval from my other half. Number 10, though, I'm coming out swinging for the fences with this one.
Okay.
We have talked ad nauseum about this actor as the consummate boy next door, greatest actor of our generation. His female lead at the time, definitely the consummate girl next door. Number 10 on my list, Sleepless in Seattle.
Nice. Very nice.
It's just one of those movies where the pairing and the chemistry worked so beautifully that they came back together almost a full decade later for You've Got Mail.
I was gonna say, right? That was a long break.
If we really look into it, there's probably about as many years passed between Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates as there is Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail.
Very true.
But the chemistry just worked so good. The story of a man who lost his wife, is kind of scared to get out there in the dating world again. And he just waxes philosophical on a call-in radio station, which, let's just talk right there about how that dates this movie.
Right.
Nowadays, it would be a YouTube video or a social media blog.
Right, exactly.
But he's calling in on a regular basis to this radio station and just pouring his heart out to the world. And Meg Ryan's character just falls in love with him, listening to him talk about his problems.
Very, very, very much for its time.
It's just so good. And there's a few movies on my list that I know are going to get questioned by either our audience or maybe even by you. But so I had to come out swinging for the fences with my number 10.
It's very funny that you mentioned all what you just said as far as who's in it and the fact that I wouldn't question it. I've never seen that or You've Got Mail. I know.
And you were watching along with the movies that I review, so I'm surprised you didn't watch them when we were doing Tom Hanks month.
It was one of those where Tom Hanks month. I'm pretty sure that was during the first incarnation.
Yeah, that was when I relaunched.
You have to remember the unfortunate part about your airtime on a given Friday is more often than not, I'm on the road to the Antelope Valley where my Wi-Fi is non-existent and my data use is very, very negligible at best. A, because I can't use it out there because of money, or B, because signal sucks such donkey balls out here in this part of the world because you're going into the damn mountains up there in the Antelope Valley. You can't hear or see shit. So that's why they haven't been watched in the moment. I have watched the episodes back, just not had a chance to sit down and watch the 2 or hour and a half, whatever movies, because unfortunately, time and parenting are a mucker fudder. So, but there will be a time where I just get nothing to do. God help us once we get this move done, and I'll have more time to do. Shoot, dude, this last weekend before we recorded, I had so much just me time because I was doing laundry. That's all I did. And I watched stuff I haven't watched before, which was nice. So more of those days will come.
Fair enough. Number 9 on my list is the second time that these two actors appeared in a film together. The first time they got together, shenanigans ensued, and it was a lot more of an action movie.
Ah.
But the chemistry was there. So in the early to mid 2000s, again, almost a decade after their initial outing, they got back together and they did more of a rom-drom love story film. And because the chemistry had worked so good in the action film, it was very prevalent here. And what made this film different is, similar to Sleepless in Seattle, the two actors don't really encounter each other until the very end.
Okay.
Number 9, The Lake House.
This one's good. And
Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I like the twist in this one for sure.
Yeah.
Just as far as how far apart they really are.
For those of you that have never seen, I will try to describe the film without completely spoiling it. But these two basically form a long distance love via exchange of letters. And I'm not talking long distance like New York, LA. I'm talking over the span of 2 years.
Yep.
Both of these people spend a summer or whatever, reside inside this lake house for a period of time.
Yep.
And when Sandra Bullock arrives, or no, when Keanu arrives, there's a letter from Sandra Bullock in there, kind of, hey, welcome to the house. Please excuse this and this. It was there when I got here, blah, blah, blah. And just starts out as like a cordial, here's what's up with the house. I didn't do this, so forgive it.
Right.
And he replies to it, and she gets it. And through movie magic and story magic, they are able to correspond with each other back and forth, despite the fact that they're living in this place 2 years apart. Until the big twist comes at the end and how these two are connected.
Right.
Which I'm not going to get into.
No.
But just the way that the story unfolds and tells itself is so good. And any of you guys that saw Speed know the chemistry that Sandra and Keanu had in that film. So much so that that's part of what made the box office suck so bad for Speed 2, was because Keanu did not come back. You know, there wasn't that chemistry to play off of in the sequel. But The Lake House is just one of those that I can watch, like you said, walk by in the room, I'll see it on, and I'll sit down and I'll watch it. It is such a good movie for me. Number 8 is, you know, I feel like I'll be saying that a lot as far as the sit down and watch if I catch it on, because all these movies are really in that vein with me. But The Lake House and my number 8, I really owe to my ex, Natalie's mom, for exposing me to both of these, because The Lake House was definitely one. And if I remember correctly, Where the Heart Is.
Oh, jeez.
Natalie Portman, our lovely Queen Amidala.
Yes.
Ashley Judd. And Keith David, Dr. Facilier, the man who goes one-on-one with the hot rod and They Live.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the story of this girl who gets abandoned at Walmart while pregnant, gives birth inside the Walmart, basically lives inside of the Walmart until she's taken in, and just how she betters her life despite her circumstances. You know, there's the little bit of the love story going on, but that's a minor focus in the film.
Yes.
It's more about how this girl, Natalie Portman, is picking up the pieces of her life, being dumped, abandoned, giving birth on her own, single mother now having to raise this child with little to no help.
Right.
Except for the people that she meets who befriend her within this Walmart.
Yeah.
You know, they become her family because of her situation and the fact that they can tell that she is trying to better herself.
Yeah.
So good, so good.
I thought that Walmart's in the poster. I think that's hysterical, because every single one of us now, I think at one point, has walked through those doors as an associate at one point or another. So it's like, it's just funny to see that there now.
Yeah.
Yep. Forever intertwined with our lives. It is what it is.
Exactly. And you know, I'm gonna get shit for this.
Oh God.
So I'm just gonna throw it in here as a honorable mention.
Okay.
Because I am talking about Natalie Portman. I do secretly enjoy the love story in Attack of the Clones.
Good. You should, damn it.
You know, a lot of people shit on it.
Yeah.
But Attack of the Clones, if you look at it outside of the Star Wars bubble,
right,
and you just look at it as the love story of Anakin and Padme,
yep,
it's such a good story.
It is.
You know, we don't want to see that in the confines of our Star Wars Space Odyssey, which is why it gets crapped on. But if you look at it from just the chick flick mentality, Attack of the Clones is what brings the women into the Star Wars universe. You know, much like some of these other ones, you know, bring the guy into the chick flick universe.
Yes.
But without Attack of the Clones and that love story and how awkward the two are around each other, just like two teenagers in love are supposed to be.
Yep. You have to remember something. At the end of the day, like, dislike, whatever you want to call it, there's two things to consider when it comes to Attack of the Clones. Number one, without that pairing, there is no Luke Skywalker. There is no Return. There is no A New Hope. There's no series. Number one. Number two, George Lucas wrote it. George Lucas produced it. It is George Lucas's decision how much lovey-dovey crap we sat through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Hayden Christensen's fault. It's not Natalie Portman's fault. Y'all want to be mad and shit on people, go up to Skywalker Ranch if you can get your ass to the gate and shit in his front yard. Okay? Very simple. I find it beautiful too. And again, I'm not as attached to the overall universe as you are.
Right.
So
You're a Trekkie. You live long and prosper.
I'm very much.
Well, I am a provider.
Literally, it came in the mail today, kids. So but I love, there it goes too. I love the stories for what they are, and I have mild at best issues with the Attack of the Clones love story being the sub story of the whole thing. Yeah. So
speaking of chick flicks that are designed to kind of bring guys to the fold, this isn't an action chick flick. This is definitely a chick flick at its core.
Okay.
But Coyote Ugly.
Oh yeah. There you go.
That roundup of women is definitely designed to bring guys' eyes into
without question.
100%.
Yes.
You know, and let me just be fair here, because she's kind of gotten a bad rep these days. This was Tyra Banks in her prime.
Hell yeah.
This was peak Tyra Banks.
Yeah, she's looking good here.
This was multi-time Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model Tyra Banks.
Yep. This movie, Jay, had such an influence on me personally that, okay, here we go. Long, ridiculous story later. When my dad took me to see somebody in concert in Vegas at the MGM for my 21st birthday, we stopped at Coyote Ugly afterwards. I ended up on top of the bar. It was a thing.
There you go.
So there you go.
I have been into the Coyote Ugly in Vegas as well because of this movie.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, the soundtrack is amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
LeAnn Rimes, arguably at her best.
I would say
arguably. I feel like Coyote Ugly was her, hey, sorry we stole. How do I live from you?
Right.
Let's give you this to score instead.
That's true.
By then she was a little bit more of age.
Right.
Because for those of you that don't know, the whole reason How Do I Live was taken from her and given to Trisha Yearwood for Con Air is because they felt at like 14, 15 years old, she was too young to be singing that song.
Right.
Despite her voice being as amazing as it was.
I was going to say, yeah.
For a 13, 14, 15-year-old to be singing How Do I Live Without You,
yeah,
they just felt was kind of wrong. So they gave it to Trisha to sing, a more grown, experienced woman with similar vocal range. Her version is a single, and it did well. Not as iconic as Trisha's, unfortunately, because it's not tied to the movie. But then here we are, early 2000, 2001. You know, she's aged 5 or 6 years. So she's 20, 21 years old now. Bam, here you go, LeAnn. We're sorry.
It was a societal ridiculousness. That's all it was. And like you said, if this is the reason they gave it to her, she shoved this one straight up their ass. Because it was damn good soundtrack. Great song. So this definitely her saying piss up a rope if you guys don't like this one. Like seriously. It's just so good.
Can't Fight the Moonlight is an amazing song.
It is.
For her, dare I say better than How Do I Live? As an overall song, no.
Yeah.
But as far as for Leanne goes, much better of a song.
Yeah, and again, it's much societal as it is just looking back in general, but I think that for where she was in her life and where the character is in her life fits that movie better with Leanne singing it than I think Leanne singing that song for either Cameron or his wife. I don't know if Casey was wife. I always forget that Casey was the wife or the daughter, but it just works. It works better when Coyote Ugly and then with Trisha singing to Nicolas Cage's characters. So it all balances out in the end. But yeah, the initial thing was societal. It was stupid, but it all worked out in the end. Yeah. But the movie's freaking great, and it's you don't expect it to be like one of the best things you've seen in that particular point in your life, but it's pretty damn good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it caught me by surprise. It really did.
Yeah. My number 6 is another one of those that is definitely more drawn for a guy's perspective.
Okay.
There is very much a chick flick love story involved here. However, it is to take a phrase from a movie, it is not your ordinary chick flick.
Okay.
Okay. You think about chick flicks and you think, standard formula. Boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love. Something happens and separates the two of them. Boy and girl realize that they are better off together, get back together, live happily ever after. You can time your beats watching these movies to that formula.
Yep.
Well, this movie, my number 6, boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love, boy and girl have falling out, boy and girl don't get back together. And I'm talking about the movie that made Ben Affleck a leading man, Chasing Amy.
There you go.
You look at Ben Affleck's filmography pre-Chasing Amy, he was a glorified extra at best, or at worst, or no, he was the sidekick at best, a glorified extra at worst.
Yeah, there you go.
This movie made him a leading man.
Oh, yeah.
This movie led to Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, Daredevil, for better or for worse.
Yep.
The movies where he became the star and carried them, because while this was being made, his buddy was making Good Will Hunting.
Right.
Which, granted, he was in, but he was not the star of.
No.
And Matt Damon does have a brief cameo in this from one of his off days at Good Will Hunting.
I was going to say, both of them were heavily involved in the movies that really made them a starring vehicle. And they happened to cameo in either movie, which, definitely helped both movies.
And then you look at Jason Lee.
Yeah.
From there went on to Heartbreakers, an honorable mention of mine for chick flicks.
Oh, yeah.
With Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sigourney Weaver. Then he became David Seville in the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise. The voice of Syndrome in The Incredibles.
Oh, I remember him. Oh, yeah.
Jason Lee has had a tremendous career thanks largely to this movie. Yeah, he was one of the stars of Mallrats, which came before this. Same with Affleck. He was kind of a heavy before that, but Affleck wasn't the star of Mallrats. He was a supporting character.
Yes, definitely.
Then you got Joey Lauren Adams in the background there, and her career probably didn't go as well as it should have on the heel of this.
Right.
The only other really major movie I can think of that she was in was Biodome. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Uh-huh.
If you know, you know.
If you don't, Yeah, no, we're not gonna tell you because we shit on him enough.
It's definitely not my favorite Pauly Shore movie, but
No.
the cast is stellar.
Oh yeah.
And the story is so good. A man falls in love with a lesbian.
Right.
And how do you get a lesbian to fall in love with you?
Nope.
Well, at the end of the day, she's a woman. She wants someone that's going to be there for her, listen to her talk, be supportive of her.
Yep.
And Affleck's character, Holden McNeil, is all of that.
Yep.
He is literally about to jump on a train to a con with Jason Lee Banky, and she pages him. Again, let's date ourselves here. Pages him. He drops what he's doing, calls her back in under a minute. You can already tell at that point he's hooked, and she hasn't fallen yet.
Right.
And when he does that, the events really start to move forward to her falling in love back with him and realizing that she loves him the way she hasn't loved a man, period, in a very long time.
It's funny you mentioned that, he gets paged. The fact that he was able to get to a phone that soon after being paged, because we're not talking like he's in a room and he's being paged over the PA. Mother effer had a beeper on him and he got beeped and made it to a payphone. And how long in real time? Maybe a minute or two. Yeah, that's skill that only us kids in the 90s understand.
Yeah. This was 1997, so there were plenty of payphones in the train station, much like there were plenty of payphones in airports back in those days.
Yeah.
Go watch Home Alone.
But just think, had he boarded that train,
Where's the phone?
There's no phones on the train, man. Like, nope. It was that close to the movie going a completely different direction. But because of that beeper and the affluence of payphones, and I'm talking like I'm a goddamn 90s kid again, that's okay.
Hey, we're products of our generation. Again, a lot of these movies are dated.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what makes them so great to go back to.
And when you think about 1997 and being beeped, and we're going to tie it into wrestling here for a second, does that that part with The Rock in the ring really work if Austin's not beeping him on the pager first? Does that really work long term if Dwayne take that thing out of his, gets looking on his face like, oh shit, and then he gets a stunner? Like, no, of course not. It's the beeper that makes the thing. The 316 on the beeper, it makes everything. And again, 1997. So there you go. Just, it is amazing how big a deal the beeper was, the pager was in our lives for big picture about 45 seconds of our 15 minutes. And really, it was around, and then, these things completely made them useless, which is fine. But yeah, for a minute there, I got a beeper my senior year, and I was the cock of the walk, man. Like, that's right, I got me a pager, bitches. Like, who the cares about a pager now? Are you kidding me? But back then, and the fact that it was used as a storytelling device, so good by, of course, Kevin this Smith. Amazing team of them. These guys are just ridiculously good at stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely up there, and the story overall is why it makes my list.
Definitely, all those guys' movies together were just so freaking good.
Yeah. Kevin Smith did not make a bad movie until he started to try to venture out of his View Askew universe comfort zone.
Yes, exactly.
There's very few movies I've seen from outside that View Askew universe comfort zone that I really enjoyed.
Right.
But when you stay inside that bubble, you stay with what you know.
Yep.
Fire.
And again, Kev, we love you on this channel, but we're just keeping it real, brother.
Yeah. So we're halfway through the list. You're noticing that there have been no repeats.
No.
We are going to hit the first film that my significant other despises and refuses to watch.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give it no other introduction other than that.
Okay. What? What the actual shit, Cece? I'm sorry. I gotta call her out. What the hell? This is the greatest. Oh, okay. Go ahead. It's your movie. Go ahead.
This right here is my second favorite Swayze movie.
Oh my goodness.
Only behind Point Break.
Right.
This is the movie that made me notice Demi Moore. This is the movie that put Whoopi Goldberg on my radar.
Oh yeah.
Because I hadn't really watched any of her 80s films from back in the day, Jumpin' Jack Flash or whatever some of the other stuff was. This movie is it next to my number one. This film is arguably the definitive chick flick of the 90s.
Yeah, I'm mad at myself for not being on my list. First of all, I can't even think I remember. I can't even believe I didn't put it on my list. But man, she refuses to watch it outright.
She just does not like that movie.
Wow.
Period.
I don't think I've ever in my almost 39 years. I'll be 39 here in a couple weeks now. Actually, 11 days. I've never met a woman that didn't like Ghost. That's crazy to me.
Ghost is one of those movies, man, that I did not need a female for me to go to the theaters and see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Me and I want to say my dad went and saw it in theaters. You know, a father-son movie day. We went and saw that.
That's crazy to me. Wow.
You know, The Righteous Brothers, Unchained Melody.
Right.
Was there a better song for that movie at that time?
Is there a better love song in the course of history? It's definitely in the damn debate.
Well, I don't think either of us had it as our number ones last year. So
no, but
clearly it's not. But I digress.
But again, you know, for our generation, yeah, I mean, granted, your generation's a little bit, you know, past mine. They're enough, but like, yeah, Unchained Melody is one of the greatest things ever friggin' written. Period. End of story.
I used to own the soundtrack to this movie. Unchained Melody was the only song on it. The rest was score.
Right.
I owned this soundtrack for that song.
Yep.
Wow. That speaks volumes of that song.
Yes.
Especially at that time.
Definitely.
This movie did for Unchained Melody what Wayne's World did for Bohemian Rhapsody. And if you don't believe me, you can fight me on it.
Yeah. You'll be fighting both of us because there is no fight there. That's just what it is.
It took a song that had long been forgotten.
Yep.
And smacked us upside our conscience with it. And was like, remember how fucking great this song is. There's my one, damn it.
That's okay. Like, just that opening scene with the clay and how it intertwines throughout the whole movie. Bohemian Rhapsody, at the end of the day, is in one scene in Wayne's World. And it's the most iconic scene. It's why it's so perforated so well through the years. Unchained Melody weaves throughout the entire movie of Ghost, which is just, again, I am completely taken the hell aback. I can't even process that. I need to have a talk with her. But anyway, wow.
You will have your opportunity at some point, sir.
And the thing is, that's only one of the two. Now I'm really scared.
Wow. You should be.
Yeah, you will be.
Number 4 on my list. I want to say, as far as my top 5, number 4 is the most recent.
Okay.
It's not a recent movie by any stretch of the imagination because it's damn near almost 20 years old itself.
Oh, geez. Okay.
But as far as my top 5 go, it is the most recent.
Okay.
The lead female was already a bubbling sensation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
dare I say that this movie launched her into a superstardom that she was not ready for.
Oh.
And she's definitely had issues that have been well documented in the public eye, more so since this film than before the film.
Okay.
It was written by a female SNL head writer. Mean Girls.
Ah, yes, Miss Lindsay.
And as much as I love Lindsay in this, we cannot sleep on the greatness that is Rachel McAdams.
Right.
Okay? Because, and granted, I haven't seen this other film, but she did this and The Notebook in the same year.
Oh, God, Notebook's so good.
Arguably two of the greatest chick flicks for this modern generation.
Yes. No, I'll mention for me is Notebook. God, that was so good. I'm reconsidering my list already. And I'm not even done the damn show yet.
And Rachel McAdams is in both of them.
And she completely opposite characters. 100%. Oh my God.
Lacey Chabert.
Yeah.
Gorgeous in this.
Yes.
Love her.
Yep.
Tina Fey. Love her.
Love Tina. Great.
Mean Girls is one of those movies, though, that, much like every movie on this list, man, if I see that on TV, I am sitting down and watching it. It is so good. It is so quotable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We all know people that we'd like to see get hit by that bus. 100%. If you tell me that there isn't somebody, you're lying.
You a lie. You a lie. You are
and
lying.
We all felt like Lindsay's character in this when we were the outsider, just trying to be accepted by some other group at school. Especially when you're the new kid in school. Especially when you're going from having been homeschooled your entire life.
Right.
Now you're walking into public schools. Your social interaction has been your parents up until, what would you say? She's about 16 in this?
That's about right.
Character. So at least 10 years of your school career, your only social interaction has been mom and dad. And now you're being thrown into the ocean.
The wolves. Oh, yeah.
With the guppies as well as the sharks.
Yeah.
And you've got to try to figure out where you fit.
When you consider that if she's been homeschooled for 10 years and there's only a grand total of at most 12 to 13 public school years, you can see why she struggled for sure, because her entire educational process, except the last 3 years, if you go into a new setting, 13, 14 years into your life, hell, if you transfer school districts 13, 14 years into your life, that's a mucker futher, man. It's terrible. I've had people that came into our district. I've been out here my whole life. I am a lifer. Y'all know I'm a Santa Clarita boy for life, Canyon Country boy for life at that. We had people come in, sophomore, junior, senior year even, that just struggled on that front. I can definitely see where Lindsay's character would have issues.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she was homeschooled. It's like, I'm not discouraging homeschooling at all, especially right now. Yeah. But I can see where that'd be a problem.
And then you figure, the first people that she meets are the weirdos of the school, the outcasts, which really fit in with who she is.
Yes.
Way more so than the plastics.
Yes. Yep.
But because she's kind of accepted because of her looks and her beauty.
Yep.
She gets sucked into that world.
Yes.
Of cattiness, bitchiness, the fakeness.
Yep.
And you really see that side of her come out for a little bit, to the point where she realizes that this is not where I want to be.
No.
I want to be back with the Weirdos.
Yep.
Okay. Just a little bit of education out there for all y'all that are still in school that feel you have to be with the popular kids. Sometimes being with the Weirdos isn't such a bad thing.
That's right. You are not alone. They are here with you. Okay.
Number three. Number three is that one movie that I knew you would not have.
Okay.
So far, none of these you've had. So, you know, we're
say, yeah,
this
this
good
is getting
so
a little
far.
weird here. Yeah.
This was the one that I knew you wouldn't have. This is the one that I knew that if I was asking people to come up with their 10 chick flicks, the only other person I could think of who might have this on their list is Teresa.
Okay.
Pure Country.
Good call. Probably an accurate assessment. No. There's a problem. Lee. It's an accurate assessment. If anybody else is going to have this in our circle, it'd be her. For sure. But it's damn good.
This movie right here just sucks you in.
Oh, yeah.
From the minute you press play and you hear the sounds of George Strait and his son singing the title song, which then transitions into George's character in the film, Dusty, performing the song live in concert. You are hooked in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Isabel Glasser, Leslie Ann Warren. Need I say any more? John Doe as his best friend. And yes, that is actually the man's name, is John Doe. It's not, John Doe is a term that usually gets thrown around for an unidentified person. That is the man's name, is John Doe. I cannot speak highly enough of this movie. Track 1 through track 12, it is my favorite George Strait album. There is not a skipper on it. We're talking Heartland. We're talking When the Sidewalk Ends. We're talking Overnight Mail. We're talking The King of Broken Hearts, which always makes me think of Owen BTW.
Right?
We're talking I Cross My Heart, which was on my list of love songs last year.
Yes.
There are so many great tracks on here. And it's just one of those underrated, lies in the weeds. Probably find it in the $5 bin at Walmart, or might even pop up at Dollar Tree or something like that. As a matter of fact, I have found the sequels for this at Dollar Tree. I have even found on a 2-pack this one and the most recent straight to DVD sequel at Dollar Tree. Nice. The most recent sequel having Shawn Michaels in it as well.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember. So
it is definitely out there in the wild if you want to hunt it down and watch it.
Yes.
But it is so good. And it's essentially Mean Girls in reverse. Yep. He starts out this stuck-up, conceited rock star, essentially, even though it's country music.
Right, I got you.
And it's going back home. It's realizing that things have gotten out of hand and stripping down the lights, the smoke, the excessive soundstage and explosions, and realizing that what made him love music in the first place was being able to play the guitar with his buddies. And coming to that realization and meeting the small town girl living in a lonely world, and falling in love with her. So good.
So good. Yes, it's just like,
so good.
Like you say, it's just so damn good. It's
I really fought about making this my number one, but I felt like people would be like, "What the hell?"
right.
It's why it only came to number 3.
Well, now I
I
am
put
curious because I know
I
I
put it
know how
as
much you love.
I put it
Yeah.
as high as I felt I could, considering that 99.9% of our viewing public has never heard of this movie.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, and I'll be very brief here. The fact that Sean is in one of the sequels is probably helpful toward more people knowing what it is, but also you have to remember George Strait was heavily prominent in the final chapter of The Last Ride. So people were probably in our audience like George Strait. I know that name, but I don't remember why. They probably went back and okay. So it made all the with Shawn Michaels being in the sequel. They all made all the catches. So they very well could have this soundtrack at least on their, maybe not on their everyday playlist on Spotify, but more than likely, they listen to a few songs every now and again. So don't be surprised if our audience is at least familiar with it, just not like, oh my God, about it like we are. But yeah, Undertaker using Troubadour definitely opened up a lot of people's eyes to George Strait, who, again, George Strait's been around forever. He's older than both of us by a mile. But the current WWE audience might not be aware of George Strait as you and I feel they should be. After Last Ride, maybe different.
As I feel that any audience should be.
Yes.
He's referred to as the king of country music for a reason.
Because he is.
And I know that country music, it's one of those things that either people love it or they hate it.
Yep.
And he is traditional sounding country.
Oh, yeah.
With the exception probably of this movie and soundtrack.
I was going to say, this movie, the soundtrack deviates a little bit, but not too far off the path.
Yeah. Songs like the ones that I listed, though, Heartland, Overnight Mail, Where the Sidewalk Ends, those definitely, although country, kind of stray from what people perceive as the traditional country sound.
Right.
Because the whole point of the Dusty character is this larger than life rock star image, even though it's country music.
Yeah.
It's electric guitars. It's heavy on the drums. The fiddles and the steel guitars are kind of gone from those songs.
Yeah. When you think about different generations' definitions of traditional country music, you figure when you ask my dad, George Jones, Conway Twitty, Tanya,
same with my uncle.
Those folks. You ask us, we say Garth Brooks, we say George Strait, we say
Reba.
Reba. We even say Shania Twain in some breaths as traditional. It's like, okay, kids, first of all, Shania Twain is not traditional any goddamn thing. Let me just be clear on that. Shania Twain came at the end of that era, but she very much took country and went, here, let's pop it, literally, right here.
I was going to say, Shania and to a certain extent Garth are of the generation that kicked down the door for Faith.
So much so.
Taylor.
Yeah.
For Kelsey.
Yeah.
For Luke.
There's a reason that Garth's definitive song has been covered by a heavy metal band, and it still whooped that ass. Let me just throw it out there now. So the traditional country, I think at this point is anything but, because everybody's got a different definition of what traditional country is. But I think this movie and the soundtrack definitely bring it back as far as you can without making it completely irrelevant to modern audiences. And that's why George Strait is the damn king.
Exactly. And some of our fans may be looking at us and thinking, you're calling this man the king. What about Garth? Garth is amazing. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
We have spoken of our adoration for Garth Brooks.
Yes.
You break out his Show from the Wind, which was in that big Walmart box set.
If you know, you know.
You watch his one-man show. You go to him in concert. All he ever wanted to be was George Strait.
He will even tell you.
Argument.
Yeah. He even tells the world to this day, George Strait's the king of country music. He's just picking up the scraps that George left behind in his wake. Now, granted, that's a little facetious. That's a little bit bullshit because Garth sold a billion goddamn records, but Garth has always kept it real about George Strait, always. So yeah, George is the effing man, and as he should be. So anyway, we went way off in the weeds, but for that one, it was worth it.
Definitely, 100%, without question. Number 2, we're going to bring it back in a little bit more traditional, and again, my adoration from this film has been well documented. 10 Things I Hate About You.
This is the other one CC doesn't like, right?
Nope.
Okay. Oh God, number one's The Thing. Oh my God in heaven. Okay. But still, this
10 Things I Hate About You. It's the movie that brought Heath Ledger to my radar.
Yep.
It's the movie that brought Julia Stiles to my radar.
Oh yeah.
It's the movie that made me remember who Joseph Gordon-Levitt was.
Right.
Because prior to this, I had only ever seen him in Angels in the Outfield.
Not even Third Rock from the Sun?
I never really watched Third Rock.
No kidding. I was paying attention to the Third Rock guy. I love that show. Anyway.
No. And to this day, you can get me to sit down and watch just about anything Julia Stiles is in.
Very true.
Because of this movie. You can get me to sit down and watch just about anything that Heath is in because of this movie. It's one of those consummate teen movies.
Oh yeah.
From the turn of the century, the late 90s, early 2000s, that I just can't get enough of. You know, watching the movie, you know, Julia Stiles' character is designed for you to not like her from the beginning.
Right.
But the more you watch it, and the more you watch it as you get older in life, the more you relate to her from the get.
As opposed to the other sister who, you know, if you're a Nickelodeon fan, Larissa Lanik was your freaking, oh, it's Alex Mack, we love you. And it's like, yeah, you're a superficial bitch.
Her character was designed to be the one that we like and the one that we relate to. Yeah. But the more and more you watch this and the older and older you get, the more and more you relate to Julia Stiles.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you start watching the movie the first time and you begin to understand why she's the way she is. And you begin to fall in love with her almost in the same real time as Heath is falling in love with her.
Yep.
Which just makes it that much better because some of these movies, you see the girl and you're immediately taken aback by her. And you're like, oh my God, yes.
Right.
Julia Stiles, not really with her in the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's the Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
It is a modern version of Taming of the Shrew. Yep. And you've got to kind of go through the paces and watch that exterior get chiseled at and fall by the wayside before you can really love her. So to be able to fall in love with her character as Heath's character is falling in love with her, you're slowly starting to see all the things that he is seeing. But what really does it for me is the party when she gets on this table and starts dancing to Hypnotize by Biggie and smacks her head, and he's right there to grab her, nurse her, take care of her. That is the moment. If you haven't already done it, by that moment, you should be in love with her character.
It's funny you mentioned this is a modernization of Taming of the Shrew. And the reason I say it's interesting is because how often have you, as a critic to a certain extent, and how much has the mass Hollywood media bitched about there's no new ideas in Hollywood, there's no new ideas in creative literature? How old is Shakespeare? 1600s, 1500s? This movie's what, 1999? That's 23 years ago. I didn't hear that bitching back then.
Nor a couple years later when she did O, which was a modern telling of Othello.
So blatantly Othello was that movie, right?
Hell, The Lion King is Hamlet.
Lion King is yeah. The point I'm trying to make is people, there's nothing new in Hollywood. It's like, you know what? There's nothing new in the world, man.
Yeah.
Shakespeare wrote it all, bitches.
Disney made its bread and butter by stealing Aesop and Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah. And what they didn't take from those two, they borrowed from Shakespeare, like The Lion King. So,
or Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah. So it's not that there's nothing new. It's just the stuff that's being rehashed is about as fresh as freaking day old hash browns. It's useless. That's the difference. The creativity to tweak it enough where it's awesome. That is where Hollywood is lacking. Yeah. That's why this movie kicks so much ass 23 years later. That's why the entire Disney Renaissance made the Disney Plus thing a thing.
It takes something that is as old and outdated and by a lot of people's perspectives stale as Shakespeare.
Yep.
And to bring it into 1999, 2000, 2001 and modernize it to where a new generation can see the story the same, but have it be more modernized. Leonardo DiCaprio, Romeo and Juliet, anybody?
The difference is that was blatantly described as, hey, it is Romeo and Juliet, but we're modernizing it. And I will sit here and argue with people to this day that that didn't connect near as well as they thought it would.
No, it didn't.
Because it was, the problem is they tried very much to do what, and pardon me for shitting on you people, what the Vince Vaughn cycle tried to do. Shot for shot, word for word, whatever version you want to take, and still make it work. You can't use 1600s dialogue in a 1998 movie. No. You can't reshoot a 1960 horror, a 1960 thriller shot for shot and make it feel like it's original, because it's not. No. Especially something as great as Psycho. You can't do that shit in 1998, because 1998, you got to figure by then, the entire genre had changed by then. Horror was not subtle, simple. It was very much gory, graphic, whatever you want to call it. And there have been so many sub-genres afterwards. You can't, it's one thing to flat out remake something original. It's another thing to, as I said, take it, tweak it enough where you don't, I had no idea this was the name of the show until you just said it right now. Here we are, February 18th, 2022. No idea that was a thing. So that's the difference. There aren't new things in Hollywood. You're right. There aren't new things in creative literature, period. It's a matter of taking what works and tweaking it to make it work now. Exactly. That's all movies and television are, folks. That's it.
There's your hot take from Jeff Meacham right here on the Jeff Meacham
And
Network.
If you really want to get into the meat and taters of things, that's all wrestling ever needs to be.
Yep. But again,
number one, here we go.
I'm still on number two for a minute.
Okay, good. Okay,
but again, you know, we talk about how some of these movies launched careers.
Yes.
You know, Julia Stiles going from this to Save the Last Dance to O, which, as we touched on, being a modernization of Othello.
Yeah.
To Mona Lisa Smile, being able to act alongside Julia Roberts and other really established names. Heath Ledger, for Christ's sake, you know, going from this to The Patriot and being Mel Gibson's son in the movie, to things like Brokeback Mountain and A Knight's Tale, to arguably his other definitive role as the Joker.
Yep.
You know, when people talk about Heath, I believe that the Joker first, obviously, because he died right after that, and this are his two major legacy films.
Yeah, people will throw.
This is what brought him to our public eye.
people will call back to Brokeback Mountain because of how controversial it was and how new it was, whatever. But you know what? I think The Dark Knight and 10 Things I Hate About You will be his legacy because, as you said, 10 Things I Hate About You really brought him to our here's this dude. Here you go. And you say that he died right after Dark Knight. I dare say it was the making of Dark Knight that ultimately did him in, because he got so immersed in that mind space that it, forever sent in the wrong direction. Good, bad. I mean, you know what? You and I have both argued many times about the posthumous Oscar being awarded, whatever the case may be. It's one of those where I don't think anybody committed to the craft the way he did, as far as that particular role and that particular time. So, did he earn it? He probably could have earned it had he stayed alive, but we'll never know. But I think it's very safe to argue that that was a huge reason of why he went when he went, because he was just so far gone down that path of having to make this work, because he wanted to make it work so bad.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the Joker to be such a definitive, dynamic, defining character. Damn it, he pulled it off.
He didn't want to be a copy of Nicholson.
Right, which was a big fear for everybody, that he would be like Jack, and it's like, that's not the case at all. Like, both those Jokers work so well for completely different reasons.
Exactly.
So anyway, great number 2. I enjoy this movie. It's one of the ones he introduced me to, and I love it. It's great stuff.
Number 1.
Okay, yeah, let me get comfortable here.
Yeah, because this is going to be the other one.
I know. And if Ghost did what it did to me, I'm scared. I'm not going to lie.
You should be scared, because out of the 10 movies I've done, this is the only one we have in common.
Oh, my God in heaven. Okay.
And not only is it the only one we have in common, but it was your number 1
my
as well.
God, dude. Oh, no. How does she not? Okay. Explain to me how she can't watch this, please.
You're going to have to talk to her. I'm not getting into it. We're here to talk about these movies and why we enjoy them.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I mean, Pretty Woman,
number 1,
pretty much hit every single mark.
Yeah.
At its core, it is a Cinderella story.
Yes.
And it's not even really an obvious Cinderella story until you watch it multiple times and let it seep into your soul.
Yes.
But it is at its core a Cinderella story. And I totally get why it would be your number 1, knowing that, because Cinderella is your princess.
Yep.
But I mean, these two, much like Tom and Meg,
yep,
much like Keanu and Sandra,
yep,
much like Patrick and Demi, these two just work so good with each other.
Yep, they do.
The chemistry is undeniable.
Yep.
And when you watch a chick flick, a love story, if the chemistry is not there, it's not going to work.
Nope.
And every single one of these movies that I've listed, and I can't speak entirely for Jeff because there's a lot on his list that I haven't seen, but I'm sure he would not have picked them if the chemistry didn't work.
There's 2 things about both lists that really stand out to me. What you just said about the chemistry working, and the fact that the majority of our lists, both of them, were launching points for either the female lead or the male lead. And I think, and again, this is going to sound really philosophical and really, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway. That speaks a lot about our society in this country and in this world. The fact that we want so bad for the characters we go watch on screen to persevere, to survive, to even thrive, and find that pot of gold in the romantic rainbow, to really actually find that person that they can go through life with and be intertwined with throughout history. The fact that a lot of these vehicles are the first time we see Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger, Julia Roberts, the people that we've seen throughout the last 2 hours really tells me that at its core, yeah, this country's screwed up. Yeah, this country's mindset's screwed up. But you know what? We're in 2022, and he and I picked 19 movies that, for the most part, were a beautiful, where the ending is beautiful and things all right with the world. And they were movies where we first saw person fill in the blank here. I think that speaks great about our country and our society, personally.
It may not have been their first film.
No.
But for every one of them, I think it was, with the exception of maybe your Jack Nicholson ones.
Right.
It was our first introduction.
The first time we really remember person. And again,
the biggest exceptions I can think of on my list are Sleepless in Seattle.
Right.
Obviously, I had seen Big prior to this. I knew who Tom Hanks was. I had seen, I want to say, The Doors before this, which Meg Ryan plays Val Kilmer's love interest in The Doors.
Right.
I had seen Bill and Ted. I had seen Demolition Man. I had seen Speed. So I knew who these people were.
Right.
I had already seen the Star Wars saga, even though I feel like this was made before. I think I had at least seen Phantom Menace, maybe Attack of the Clones, before I saw this.
Yeah. I honestly think the first two prequel movies were out before Where the Heart Is. I think being attached to the Star Wars saga is, well, okay, let's try her in something else.
Yeah.
And it worked. So,
but I mean, Piper Perabo.
Oh yeah. Piper's definitely
I had already seen Clerks and Mallrats by the time I saw this, but I had seen it way after the time it had been released.
Right.
First real exposure to Patrick or Demi. Yes, I love Point Break more. Yes, he obviously had done Dirty Dancing well before this.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm sure would make just about any female's chick flick list. Right. But I think I saw Point Break after I saw Ghost.
Okay.
Lindsay introduced to George Strait. Obviously, I knew who he was, but this and his appearance in the sequel where he plays himself, not Dusty, I think are the only things he's ever made, which is really sad because he is so good in this.
Yeah, he really is.
Already touched on them, this being the first time seeing them.
Yep.
Richard Gere, I know, had done An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yep.
Julia Roberts had been in like Steel Magnolias and Mystic Pizza, but never really saw them. This was definitely my introduction to them too. So yeah, I mean, there's a few that I knew who they were beforehand, but yeah, a lot of them, even if not their first film, definitely the introduction to them.
Yeah, you figure they were talking on Movies That Made Us about Mystic Pizza being a thing, and Steel Magnolias wasn't even out yet when they were starting to produce Pretty Woman, so they didn't know how big it was going to get, but god damn it, did it take off. There's been an argument for a couple of years about which movie really put her over. It's like, come on, man, Pretty Woman made her everything. Steel Magnolia is definitely, okay, she can act, she's a great actress, but Pretty Woman was her vehicle. Totally.
Steel Magnolias was the equivalent of like Ocean's 11. She was part of an ensemble cast.
Right.
She may have been the scene stealer in that ensemble.
Right.
But it was not her movie. Much like why Batman Forever was only number 8 on my list.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people expected it to be a lot higher, knowing my love for that film.
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't a Jim vehicle. He was an ensemble.
Yeah. See, for me, again, as good as it gets, everybody's known Jack Nicholson by then. There was no, that wasn't a starting vehicle by any means for Jack, or really anybody in that movie, really. As good as it gets, not as good as it gets, I'm sorry. Something's got to give. I will say it gave us a look at Amanda more than seeing her Pete's. I will say that. Because Amanda really hadn't had a chance to flex a whole lot of creative muscles other than, oh look, she's the pretty one, or she's the beautiful body one. But that really let her do more in that movie. Enchanted, of course, we saw Amy Adams for the first time and really got to see Patrick Dempsey do a film thing, which was different than doing Grays, obviously. American President, again, everybody knew who Michael Douglas and Annette Bening were by then, but that's the first time I saw Annette on screen, for the record. So there you go. Splash, I don't think I've seen another Daniel. Fucking hell. Splash, I don't think I've ever seen another Daryl Hannah movie, period, to be blunt and fair about it. So, whereas Tom Hanks, again, I think we gush over Tom Hanks enough. We should probably head up his fan club at this point, you and I.
Right.
Saying,
Tom, if you're watching, just saying, sign us to the Playtone Galaxy. Make that a thing.
That's it. Wedding Singer, neither one of them needed to be established by that point, but it was cute as a button, like I said when I started about it. I think the only ones on my list that were really like, okay, this is their vehicle where they're really going to go into the stratosphere. I'll say 13 going on 30 because Jennifer really hadn't hit pay dirt yet. Mary, of course, Cameron, like I said, we're not into the next phase of everything. And like we said at the top, Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman was both of them that really, that's where I first saw Richard, definitely where I first saw Julie Roberts, definitely where I saw Laura Sanji. I forgot to say her damn name.
Well, and let's not forget about The Princess Bride. First time I saw Carrie Elway, first time I saw Robin White, who would go on and be Jenna.
What's funny, first time I saw Princess Bride, okay, so first time I saw Robin was Forrest Gump. I hadn't seen Princess Bride yet. First time I saw Carrie was Robin Hood Men in Tights. God help me. Let's just talk about that for a minute. Lordy Almighty! Thank God I saw him in this. I'm like, oh, thank God there is better. Oh, because Men in Tights was awful. Andre, of course, I've seen Andre for years. Billy Crystal I'd seen before. Everybody I'd seen before in this movie, except
because I remember seeing Princess Bride on like VHS at like the YMCA during a summer camp or something.
Oh, there you go. Even better. There you go.
Because I am that much older than you. Let's just date myself here, going to summer camp at the YMCA. But
well, I went to one of those too. We just didn't have. We actually. I don't think Princess Bride was one of our choices of VHS, but I went to the YMCA there during day camp. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That's so another sidebar completely. First time I ever went on the handicap entrance of Space Mountain. My grandmother, field trip 1995 with YMCA. Oh yeah, it's like, oh, it's a whole new world back here. What the hell's going on back here? No idea.
That's good shit, pal.
It was really good. Like I was most popular kid in school there for a minute. But anyway, thank you for that one. But yeah. The one that we have both at the top of our list, Pretty Woman, was by and large where I first saw Richard Gere and where I first saw Julia Roberts. And again, it's one of those stories where you don't really like, it shouldn't work. It's this divorced, jaded, freaking just corporate raider literally picking up a hooker to ask for directions. And that's how this week starts. And it's like, it ended this good? God damn, this is a good movie. So, it shouldn't work if you look at it now. But it's, according to the dads, not always on wrestling, it is the best chick flick ever. So there you go.
It works because at his core, Richard Gere's character is still a gentleman.
And that's what makes Richard Gere
realizes that whatever he did that led to his divorce, he did. He is still a gentleman at the end of the day.
Yep. And Julia's not in the situation she's in because she wants to be in it. She's not a call girl by choice. All right. She's just not that, very few people that I've encountered go into that profession by their own design and their own plan making. Right. So again, like you said, it works because at their core, these two people, Edward and Vivian, are both broken and they're both, in a bad situation in their head mentally and in their lives financially. Well, actually, Edward's not, but they're both in situations beyond their control, which both of them are very much control freaks. Gee, I wonder why I relate so much. Jesus,
it's my channel, goddammit.
My channel. That's right. My name's on the marquee today, but it will be in editing. I should have put the little what do you call it, the simulcast thing up there. I just want to put it up there because I didn't know if you had that. But it works. And yes, we definitely need to talk off air about why CC won't watch us, because we need to make that not be a thing. Good Lord.
You're gonna have to take that up with her. I'm not.
Oh, I will.
That.
The fact that both of us have it as number one and it's a no-go, yeah, no, there will be a talk. There, yeah. Wow. I can almost give Ghost a pass because I didn't have it on my list. That's, whatever. And Swayze wasn't my boy. That was my ex's boy for most. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
I can't think of many guys that will claim Swayze as their boy.
Right. No, I got you.
At the end of the day, Point Break is my go-to Swayze film.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that's a whole other argument about what we can introduce and stuff. But I didn't even see Roadhouse until it became a joke on Family Guy.
There you go. And see, and I didn't see it until it became
Roadhouse,
a joke.
I want to say, was between Dirty Dancing and Point Break.
And then I didn't see Roadhouse until after you introduced that joke to us in the Casa, and Jay and I reviewed it for Ringside Insanity.
Yeah.
So it was that long I didn't see it. Right. So yeah, it's and
that puts in perspective. When you guys watched it to review it for RSI was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. And
that was almost a decade ago.
Right. I got into Dirty Dancing because of her, obviously, because she loves that movie. I still, please don't shoot me through the screen. I still have not watched Point Break start to finish. Still haven't.
You need to get caught up on the Keanu, bro.
But the thing is, I was never a big Keanu fan. I'm not shitting on Keanu.
You've got to watch his career from beginning to now. You've got to kind of go through, like when I do my months and I profile them from their first movies and watch them grow as actors. You got to start with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, then get on to Point Break, then do Speed, then get to The Matrix, then move to John Wick, and just watch as he progresses. Point Break, and CC agrees with me on this one, Point Break is a pivotal movie in the Keanu Reeves filmography because Johnny Utah is part Ted Theodore Logan, and he's part his character in Speed.
Okay.
It's a perfect hybrid. Like, you can see why he was cast as Utah because of the surfer gimmick of Ted. Mm-hmm. It's a movie about surfing and bank robberies.
Right.
And you can tell why he was able to go to Speed, The Matrix, John Wick afterwards, because it's a solid action flick.
Well, it's funny you mentioned
pivotal movie.
It's funny you mentioned Mr. Reeves because let me see if I can get make sure I have the graphic called up here properly, which of course I don't, because that'd be too easy. I know we're gonna do Keanu Reeves movies on the DADS this year, so it'll be it's I think it's for the end of the year if I remember right. But anyway, we've got a lot of stuff coming up that is gonna be, I won't say challenging, but it'll be interesting for me to go through and see what my favorites are and what they aren't, because a lot of them, it's kind of like, yeah, but I haven't seen those. So we'll see again how it all plays out. Our next episode, of course, is going to be our wrestling episode for March. And as JJ always points out, March is our road to WrestleMania month officially, because WrestleMania is in April nowadays, but it used to be in March, so we kind of throw it together there.
It kind of bounces between March and April.
Yeah, So as you see on the screen there.
If the Rumble in January is the official road to WrestleMania, then the DADS that begin in March can be our beginning of the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, it makes sense. And our our wrestling show will be, as you see right there, top 10 all-time special guest referees. Now, I made this decision because March 4th is actually the notorious Danny Davis's birthday. And of course, if you remember Danny Davis from the 80s and early 90s as a referee, you know why I picked him. And then, Our top
Nick
10.
Patrick, eat your heart out.
That's right. Our top 10 non-wrestling show in March is one that I actually chose only because it's the anniversary of the very last WCW show, which was the death of WCW pay-per-views. So the top 10 death scenes in movie and TV history. That one, I know I got picked out stuff. It's going to be an interesting collaboration because I know that you and I have very different ideas on what is great in that and what is necessarily not so great. So
I'm still gonna have to do my work on that one, but I am just about ready to roll cameras on the guest referees.
there you go. And then
I have I think either 7 or 8 of my 10.
Nice.
And just need to figure out my other couple and organize them by ranking.
There you go. And as we get on for the year, as I said, September 2nd, which is Keanu Reeves' actual birthday, is when we're doing our top 10 Keanu Reeves movies. And that'll be again coming up in the month of September, Friday the 2nd, which also is
Jeff has a lot of movies to watch in a short amount of time because it's February.
I know this.
That's September. That's 7 months.
I got this.
Okay.
Andres Lopez, I got this.
Okay.
What funny is September 2nd is also a wrestling anniversary. You think about 20 years ago that day, and we'll get into that as we get closer. But the day that began unofficially the reign of terror on Monday Night Raw, and we'll go ahead and leave you with that little snippet of teasing there. But again, if you've been watching the entire hour, over 2 hours. Good Lord have mercy.
We're pushing 2.5 now.
With 2.5. Thanks to my dumb ass. So, yeah, but it's okay. If you've been watching
2.5 hours almost of two men talking about chick flicks,
a topic that I was like about. There you go. So if you've been commenting,
and only one of them we had the same.
Yeah, 19 different movies from two guys. Just saying. There you go. If you've been watching over here, we appreciate it. And I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm on the road to Antelope Valley. God help me. If you're watching down below us here and on demand, we definitely appreciate you guys coming back and watch us after the fact. Please leave your comments. Please leave your responses on what your guys is, especially you guys. Jay, talk about it after the break.
Yes. I am curious as all get out to see what chick flicks we left off the list, and especially from our male viewers. You figure 90% of our audience, probably closer to 95, 98% of our audience is male viewers. What chick flicks do you guys like? You know, what is that one movie that your girlfriend, your wife, you know, if you're single and you've got a sister or something, what is that one movie that the female in your life, your mother, can say, hey, let's watch this, and you're not going to fight them on because you love it too. Exactly. Let us know.
Please.
I am genuinely curious.
And we'll be talking about it in the week leading up to the show going up this way. You know, we would talk about it all this last week, but I definitely want to make it a point now. Please let us know what you guys think, because we thrive on y'all's feedback. And if there's no feedback, there's not a whole lot we can do except just do what we like to do. And we know that gets stale eventually. So, you know,
if you guys want, meet us in the room on open mic night next Friday and talk to us about it. It's an open forum. We will discuss whatever you viewers want to discuss. So if you've got one, if you question one, meet us in the room then, and we will discuss it on open mic night.
I want so many people into that room for no other reason than it's my last group show before I turn 39.
See, there we go.
Because the shows after that will be Talk Wrestling and the Jeff Meacham show, which I think Stapway Sports Bar is on Tuesday the 1st. So that'll be the first show I do with somebody else after my birthday starts. But yeah, Friday night next week's my last group show, guys, until I hit another year. So come and party with me and commiserate with my sad ass.
That's right.
But yes, let us know how you feel about this show, how you felt about our Jim Carrey show, how you felt about our celebrity show, how you feel about Jeff doesn't get the shows done on time. anything. We want to
Yes.
hear everything.
Come into the open mic night and wax on that one.
Seriously.
Yell at Meacham for not getting shows posted on time, because we filmed these more than enough in advance.
Yes. Shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
But it is.
We all know that aside from running the empire and being a father, Jeff does nothing else the whole rest of his time.
No.
So why he can't download the episode from the shared folder, edit it, upload it, have it ready to premiere, have it set to be monetized within the course of a week, and we usually film these months in advance. The Marvel one, which just barely aired, was filmed in like April or May of last year.
Which is why there's no
And it just aired at the end of January. It was supposed to be our July one, because I was doing Marvel movies. Captain America was on the 4th of July. Kid channel down.
Like it. Yeah, with the belief that the show actually be.
And I does now need to pray that it gets aired on time, because you had to edit this.
All right. It's cool. We're gonna say good.
God damn it, pick one.
I'll even go you one better, Jay. Here's what we'll do. I'm gonna throw this up here right now on the screen. Check this out. Here you go, guys. Here is where you can either watch these movies for free on streaming with, you know, if you're single and, you know, living with your mom, you're probably too broke to afford anything anyway. So here you go. Here it is on streaming. You can rent these on Prime Video if they're not streaming. That you have options. But if you can't take your mom out for dinner and come back and pay $5 for a Prime Video movie,
or your girlfriend, or your wife,
or your girlfriend, whoever, then this list ain't for you, clearly. So that's okay. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a list that is for you, the diehard Jeff Meacham Network audience, because we're talking about our top 10 special guest referees on Friday, March 4th, which again is after my birthday. God help us. Until then, he is the Renegade himself, JJ Williams. I am, gotta do the pose, the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham. This is the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling, and we will see you guys next time.
What's up there, buddy boy?
Okay, we're live. Jesus Christ. What a clusterfuck guys trying to be at the end. I apologize for that, y'all. Oh, why am I explaining that? So, bottom line, no open mic night next week because I'm on the live hiatus, as I've discussed a few times here. We're literally getting ready to walk out the door here. I need to put stocking shoes on. My dad is walking the door, so I'm going to do this real quick. I actually did the episode more than I thought I did it when we recorded. It actually turned out really, really well. I actually was impressed with that episode, how it played out all together. It was long, and it was long to edit for sure.
And you still missed edits.
I missed a couple. Like I said, it was a long already pressed to edit the damn thing, and I apologize for that. But I will attempt to do better. At least the show went up on time. At least got to give me that much. So
about 20 minutes late on time.
Hey, you know what? To be fair, it's supposed to be at 4:00 today. So the fact I had to put it up early because of this damn drive I'm about to take, because Lord knows I love doing that shit every Friday. So yes, we did talk about during the course of the broadcast our next show, which is March 4th, top 10 special guest referees. That one is in the can and being edited as we speak here. As JJ's been watching me, look down at my phone here during the course of this episode. I have been editing that show as we've been going along here. Before we get to the death scenes episode, which, like I said during the show, I apologize for that in advance, because
as you should,
as I should, ugly. But the weekend after our special guest referees episode, I will be in Las Vegas at the fabulous Plaza Hotel and Casino and Bingo. Apparently, that's what the logo says. Where actually was the home of Championship Wrestling for a while with Marquez, and then they filmed a few episodes of it at the Plaza. But I'm not going there for wrestling, at least not officially. I'm going there to meet two very important, completely different people from completely different walks of entertainment life. You guys have been hearing me talk about this gentleman, Vic Mignogna from Star Trek Continues. He's actually a voice of Dragon Ball Z. He's been doing that for a number of years. He will be in Vegas, but the people you all, I'm sure, interested in me going to see is Miss Lita. She will be there. There will be a picture of her and I taken. My dad will probably be in the picture too. But yes, finally get to meet Lita after all these years. I know you've had the chance to meet Lita over the years, Jay, as well as Teresa, who that was your guys' favorite when you were together. I actually asked Teresa if she has her belt signed already, because I was going to get the autograph from Lita, but she already took care of that. So it's all good on that front. But I get to meet Lita. I'm very excited about that. So it'll be cool to see her. It'll be cool to see Vic for the first time. And then, like I said, I apologize for this in advance. I'm a bad person for this episode. It's about to unfold for y'all. It's just tragic is what it is. And again,
you may be meeting her as the women's champion.
You know what? It could happen after Saturday. She may be the champion after tomorrow. We'll see how tomorrow plays out for WWE and for the Hall of Famer. And again, I chose the Death Scenes episode, as I mentioned, because of the anniversary of Greed. And then WrestleMania weekend, man, just a few weeks after, we've got our episode of the greatest WrestleMania entrances of all time, our coverage of Ring of Honor's return, and then the big one, WrestleMania 2-day coverage, the biggest weekend of entertainment. And as announced this morning, that Friday that the Ring of Honor show is, that our show is, that SmackDown is, finally, The Undertaker is officially going into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's just a bitch that it's going to be in Texas. I get it's Texas because that's where he stays. But my dad and I would sure like to be there for this, obviously, because of reasons. That's why I threw the hat on for this particular little interlude here, because that's our guy, man. So
let me ask you, who inducts him?
Who inducts him?
Or Kane?
We've been talking about all this all today. It's either got to be Glenn or it's got to be Vince. I mean, if Vince inducted Austin, Vince should have inducted Hogan. I get why Sly did. If Vince is going to induct Donald Trump because of their close association over all these years, it almost has to be Vince, but I can definitely get with Glenn being the inductor as well. So that's either one works for me. It really does. And yes, I mentioned the prop showing up early on the show. I got that prop to make this shirt to go see Vic. That's the whole reason I got this together as quick as I did, because I wanted to have a goofy Trekkie costume to go see the newest Captain Kirk. So there you go. Again, we thank you all, both of us, for watching that cluster for 2.5 hours. That was a long. I forgot how long it was. Actually, when they I went, ooh, shit. And that was not including the trailer of Renegade, not including the DADS trailer or the closing credits or the brief little, hey, we're coming through the SoFi project. So that's probably the longest show we've done so far. But the longest show we've canned so far this year, without question.
100%.
So if it goes longer this year, it wouldn't surprise me either. But again, I thank you. It is now 2 minutes to my departure time. I got to get shoes and socks on. JJ, thank you for being along with me in the chat room. It was good fun to entertain ourselves, was it not?
Yeah,
we're on early. Please watch on demand. Tune in after SmackDown tonight, whenever you're going to tune in. We really appreciate you guys watching on demand live whenever you watch. We will be back in 2 weeks, as we said, with our guest referees episode, which again was a fun one to talk about. Lita will be featured on that episode as well, so you get to hear about our thoughts on Lita and the striped shirt before you go see me interact with Lita. So there you go, little segue there. I dig that.
There you go.
And we did mention during it's all ties together. We did mention during the episode of Dads that you're coming back hot and heavy. April is your movies feature wrestlers, which is the entire 30 days of April. But then in May, when you go to Monday through Friday, it's movies starring The Rock or Dwayne Johnson or whatever you want to call them this particular week. So everything's all good. And anything else you want to throw in before I have to sign off? Because I'm getting the stink eye from producer above me. It's time to go.
I'm good.
So thank you guys. We'll see you next week. We'll see you in 2 weeks, I should say, on Dads and throughout the course of history here on the Jeff Meacham Network. Have a great Friday, y'all. Go out and enjoy it. Enjoy the shows tomorrow. You got Elimination Chamber and No Surrender from WWE and Impact tomorrow. It's going to be a hell of a day of wrestling. Could change the course of wrestling over the course of that entire full day period. So stay tuned to that. We'll see you guys next time right here on Dads and across the Jeff Meacham Network and the Cassidy Studios.